Okay, it's 9 o'clock. I'd like to call this meeting to order. The proceedings of this meeting will be recorded and made available on the internet. I will move on to item 1.2 of our agenda, which is roll call, and I ask our clerk, Jesse Clark, to please call the roll.
Thank you. Mayor Lamstead, are you present?
I am present.
Deputy Mayor Armstrong?
Present.
Councillor Francis?
Present.
Councillor Braybrook?
Present.
Councillor Cadigan?
Present.
For staff, we have Donna Taggart, CAO Treasurer.
Present.
Steve Brockbank, Director of Emergency Services.
Present.
Dylan Kosh, Director of Recreation and Facilities.
Present.
Evan Grieger, Director of Public Works.
Present.
Eric Gay, Director of Building and Planning, CBO.
Present.
Adele Arbor, Planner. Present. Bianca Dragicevic, Deputy Clerk. Present. Matt Winches, Supervisor of Waste Public Works Coordinator.
Present.
And Rachel Stark, Communications Coordinator, will be joining us later. And Jesse Clark, Director of Corporate Services, Clerk is present.
Thought you'd missed yourself. Thank you very much, Jesse. We can move on now to item 1.3 of our agenda, which is land acknowledgement and moment of reflection. We respectfully acknowledge that Trent Lakes and Peterborough County are located on the Treaty 20 Mississauga territory and in the traditional territory of the Mississauga and Chippewa nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaty First Nation, which include Curve Lake, Hiawatha, Alderville, Scugog Island, Rama, Beausoleil, and Georgina Island First Nation. Trent Lakes respectfully acknowledges that the Williams Treaty First Nations are the stewards and caretakers of these lands and waters in perpetuity, and that they continue to maintain this responsibility to ensure their health and integrity for generations to come. We will now take a moment to reflect on these principles and our duties and responsibilities as members of council. Okay, thank you, everyone. We can move on to item 2 of our agenda, which is the approval of the agenda as circulated. I would entertain a motion for the same. Councillor Cadigan for a mover and Councillor Franzen for a seconder. Any conversation about the agenda? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. We can move on now to item 3 of our agenda, which is disclosure of pecuniary interest. If any member of council has a pecuniary interest on anything on the agenda, please disclose it now or anytime during the meeting prior to discussing anything on the item you have an interest in. I'm seeing no hands. We can move on now to item 4 of our agenda, which is our 2026 draft budget. And item 4.11 is a presentation by Matt Winges, our Supervisor of Waste and Public Works. And go ahead.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor and members of council. Through you and on behalf of the Environmental Advisory Committee, I will be presenting the 2026 work plan along with a budget request that will coincide. I'm going to present them both at the same time as they are both related. The 2025 work plan was quite ambitious, but also I think that it was quite successful. And like any plan, it was constantly evolving, so we were adding things as we went along. Because of that, there are some items that were left, and so the EIC feels that for the remainder of the term, which will go to November, so the 2026 work plan will basically be what's left from the previous work plan carried over. A few highlights of what that's going to look like. The shoreline protection related policy potentially, develop information messaging for the control of invasive aquatic species and also terrestrial species. We're going to look into blue flag certification, which is on our beaches. It's a standardized way of measuring ecological impact. Forest inventory we're working on. The natural history strategy will be another thing, although we're waiting on the county for this one, and continue to support staff in developing a dark sky bylaw. In terms of the budget request, we're only asking for, or I should say, EFC is only asking for an extra 2,000 on top of what was asked for last year, which was 12,000. We're asking for 14 this year. Last year, we had developed 2 sets of brochures that went out in the tax bills, with the tax bills, and are also distributed amongst the community. We feel they were very successful. People seem to be really interested in them, and I think some of them have been included in the building permit package that's given out. So we have decided that we'd like to do the same thing again with new brochures potentially. So we will be asking for the same amount as last year for this again this year. We've also added in $1,000 for honorariums. The EAC feels that in order to educate the public, we need to be educated as well. And the honorariums are just a way of honoring anyone who comes and takes time out of their day to speak to us, that is doing it just in their own spare time. And then finally, there's a small amount, another 1,000 for educational purposes. If there are any events or any other kind of educational programs we would want to develop, there's a bit of extra money there so that we can do that.
Okay. Have any comments or questions for Matt? Mr. Caddy, go ahead.
Regarding the blue flag, so will we be setting up some sort of testing at the beaches as well?
Not necessarily, no. And what's going to end up happening is we found that it doesn't really make sense to get the actual blue flag certification. It's more for larger beaches. But we will be following a lot of the ecological practices suggested by the certification. So in terms of testing, that'll be determined by the subcommittee when it comes to it, but it's not necessarily part of it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
Dylan, I think
Oh,
we
sorry,
have-
Dylan, go ahead.
Through you, Mayor, to Councillor Cadigan. All of our beaches are currently monitored and tested for bacteria by Peterborough Public Health. So that's all posted on their website. And the EAC has spoke with us, and a lot of it's just general good practice at a beach, keeping it clean, keeping the environment, in the state. You're not just ripping out everything that's kind of around you. So it's just general good practice, a lot of it, which we meet already.
A follow-up question?
Absolutely, go ahead.
How often do they test? Weekly?
Through Mayor. So it depends on the beach. The actual frequencies offhand, I think like some of the more remote ones like Crows or Whites are more along the lines of monthly. And I think bi-weekly or weekly for like Sandy and John Street Beach and down in Buckhorn and Lakehurst.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Deputy Mayor Armstrong, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Mayor Lamson. Thanks a lot, Matt. I am on that committee and I do support a lot of the work that they have done. I think we've taken the approach that on many of these issues, we educate before we regulate. So that's why we're talking about investing more money in educating the public rather than introducing more regulatory framework that needs to be enforced, et cetera. So that's kind of the general approach. My second comment, and I will make this about two other of the budget requests, is $14,000, excuse me, I believe you can find in your existing budget. I think there are areas where we haven't spent the money this year. We don't need to budget it next year. It's not a huge amount of money, so I don't think we should burden the taxpayers with additional monies. I'm sure it's there. And I would task staff to go back and find that $14,000 in the existing budget.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Armstrong. Any further comments or questions? I just have a comment about our Environmental Advisory Committee. I think these are good steps, and I do agree with our Deputy Mayor that we should be able to we are going to be burdening our taxpayers significantly this year through the county and through Trent Lake. So I think we can find some efficiencies where we can. I do appreciate that comment. Thank you. Okay, is anyone prepared to make a motion of some form? I don't think we're speaking to the budget request, just the idea of the work plan and
Approving the work.
approving the work plan.
And speaking to the budget request.
Go ahead.
Through you. We were going to change it this year for the capital budget because most of the requests are through that budget.
Okay.
So we will have staff, and that was the discussion that you and I had, that
Yep.
we would have staff go through their requests through the capital budget and then go back to them and just, obviously along the way, we could discuss them,
Yeah.
but make a decision after we go through them all.
Go through our regular budget.
Yeah, but this, we would be looking for council direction.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, does anyone understand that, what we just talked about? Because I'm a little confused myself. No,
So
No?
for clarification,
Sorry.
yeah, go ahead.
we're going to receive all the reports and then have a motion on them? Or are we going?
So through you, the ones in the operating budget, there's only a couple. We would ask for direction when we're on those ones.
Okay.
The bulk of them are through capital. So that's the one we'll go through and then circle back and make a decision on, just when we get to the capital budget.
So this, we want a decision and direction right now. So. Okay, Councilor Braber, go ahead.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. I'll take a stab at it. A motion to receive and approve the motion, and also direct staff to find the requested amount in the capital budget. Is that
Existing, that would be general government budget.
okay? To find the monies requested in the general budget.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Councilor Cadigan, seconder. Any further conversation? I'm seeing none. I will.
Sorry, you-
Sorry, go ahead.
Can I just confirm that you were also approving the 2026 work plan
Yes.
in that? Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you.
And you're okay with the approval of the work plan, okay? So we have a motion, a seconder. Any further conversation? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Now, we can move on to item 4.2 of our budget, which is our budget summary. And item 4.2.1 is Donna Taggart, our CAO treasurer. Would you like to speak to this item, please?
Thank you, through you. So before you is the 2026 draft budget, the summary. So as a reminder, levy and tax rate calculations are based on the same level of service as in 2025, as required under the budget policy. So if there are spending increases or any new spending, it is because it costs more to maintain existing services, or the spending was already approved by council, or is under the $5,000 threshold that we have as staff. So as a reminder, the amounts shown today only include the municipalities portion of spending and do not therefore include amounts collected for the county and school boards. Overall, in 2025, 41 cents of every dollar collected stayed in Trent Lakes. 43 cents went to the county and 16 cents went to the school boards. So as a reminder, we're dealing essentially with the 41 cents in this budget. So the 2026 draft budget summary shows an overall budget increase between 2025 and 2026 of $3,114,000 or 14.79%. So this is largely due to an increase in the capital budget for the build in Buckhorn, but you will see that this build has not impacted the tax levy for 2026, and it is being funded through money that's already been collected through the use of reserves. We are going to use some Canada build funding, previously known as gas tax, and some borrowing through Infrastructure Ontario. So of note is that with the expansion of the use of that gas tax funding or community build, they did add fire facilities a couple of years ago. So between 2025 and 2026, the plan is to use about $800,000 in funding for that build. So the draft budget, just to let you know, does include a 4.5% wage increase for all departments after the approval of a market compensation review for non-union staff and the new collective agreement with CUPE reached in 2024. So as in recent years, there continue to be increases in legal budgets in some departments, impacting the draft budget, with most of these increases being in building and planning due to increasing costs for things like OLT hearings and some ongoing legal cases already underway. I also wanted just to let you know, as in with every year, the budget is impacted by the cost of policing. So although the 2026 OPP billing statement has not been received to date, there was a recent announcement by the Solicitor General that increases for 2026 would be capped at 11%. In anticipation of this, there was an increase of 11% added to the OPP budget. So $185,745. That recent announcement did also include some potential decreases under a new discount table that would lower eligibility thresholds to receive discounts for calls for service and overtime. So there is the potential that that budget could be lowered to account for if the municipality qualifies for that discount, but we don't know that at this time. So as a reminder, policing costs are determined in two ways. One way is based on the number of properties in the municipality and a standard-wide province per property cost. And the other is the cost for policing for calls for service for Trent Lakes, which would include overtime expenses as well. And as I said, we don't know that at this time, but I did build the 11%. That's the promised increase. We did offset some of that with a transfer from reserve. There was 100,000 put into reserve in 2025, just in case. So we did use some of that money, and Eric will speak to that when he gets to his section. So the actuals reflected in the budget before you are up to November 6th. And just to note, there is some significant spending still going to happen in 2025 and audit entries to complete. There are also revenue entries to complete for reserve transfers to offset some of that spending once the final costs are determined. So largely those entries aren't done until toward the end of the year when we actually know costs. So the tax levy increase for Trent Lakes in this draft budget is $482,547 or 4.24%, which would result in a tax rate increase of approximately 3.16% with the estimated growth from 2025. So growth, as a reminder, is the difference between the assessment roll January 1, 2025 and when it's cut off in November, and it has been cut off. So we're just waiting for confirmation on that amount. So if council approved the additional staff budget requests shown today, the levy would increase 11.75% and the tax rate 10.59. So as a reminder, the province does continue or has continued with the freeze for property tax assessments, leaving them at a value of January 1, 2016. You will see the, I've talked about the growth a little bit there, but from last check last week, it looks like we might be 1.17 instead of 1.11, but I should know that shortly. Whatever that is, it will be brought into the tax rate calculation and reduce the rate accordingly. So the draft levy increase on this slide shows you that the amount being paid in 2026, if council approved the budget as it's shown, would be $1,283.78 or up $39.40 for the average family, single family detached, $2127.30 up $65.29 for the average single family detached on the water, and $1912.86 for the average seasonal dwelling up $58.70. And just a reminder, every 1% in tax levy increase equates to $4.30. It's $118,699 or $4.30 on every 100,000 worth of assessment. So
Okay.
are there any questions on this slide?
Thank you very much, Donna. Do we have any comments or questions? Deputy Mayor Armstrong,
Thanks,
go ahead.
Eric. Quick question, Donna. The table in terms of the increased assessment for each, not increased assessment, increased tax for, let me go back. That last column, is that based on 4.24% or based on 11.75%?
Thank you, and through you. That's based on that document, what's on this page. So the 4.24 with
Right.
a 3.16.
That's right.
I have provided you the impact on the tax levy on the next page, what that would result in for increases for.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments or questions for Donna? Go ahead, Councillor Brayberg.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Donna, what do you think are the two biggest impacts to our budget increase?
So thank you and through you. So you will see this year that the general government has the largest impact, and that is from the splitting of the CIO treasurer role. So that's definitely impacting. And really just the regular costs of policing and insurance. Insurance is always large. I have built in for some budgets about a 7% increase because we don't know, we want to be prepared. And the fire emergency services and public works sections have been harder hit the last few years. That's where essentially the risk lies. So really, I would say those legal budgets, insurance, policing, and then the split of the CAO treasurer role would be the main impacts, I would say.
Thank you.
And the increase in wages, the 4.5.
Okay, any other comments or questions for Donna? That was way too easy for you, Donna, I don't know.
We're just starting, so
Okay. Yeah, that was- wow.
I understand the deputy mayor has some flags that are board.
Yeah,
So
there's a few, thank goodness. Okay, I don't think we need a motion for that. Yeah, we're still. Oh, okay. We can move on to our next item, I guess. Thank you, Donna. We
Thank
can move on to item 4.3 of our agenda, which is capital. Donna Taggart, our CAO treasurer, would you like to speak to that item?
Before that, through you, if you're okay,
Yeah.
we will, if you're okay with it, go over the impact of additional requests. So it is the next page in our package today, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So this is the page that shows the impact of the additional requests. And those requests are largely in the capital budget this year, a couple in the operating. So that would see an impact to the average single-family detached property on the water of 218.61, single-family detached property 131.93, and seasonal dwelling 196.58. So once again, I'd like to remind you that is only the Trent Lakes portion of the levy. I don't know, this is late, actually. The education amount has not been provided by the province at this time, so I don't know the increase to that. The county, I don't think they're passed, correct? They're close, I think.
It's still under deliberation. It's looking around the 5 cents, little 5+ something% increase for the levy, and then 4 point something for the tax levy increase.
Okay.
So we're pretty close to that.
Yeah, which is quite significant when we add all three together.
Right.
Okay.
So that was, once again, I'm showing you the rates, the impact on the tax levy and the tax rate if all of the requests are approved today, and some of the other funding that we are using for those requests that we already have, or we can utilize reserves or unspent money. So that is, and once again, you will hear all of these requests as we get to them.
Okay. Some of those numbers are a little terrifying, I must admit. When you start adding the county increase of 5.4 or something percent, whatever it ends up being, I'm sure our finance committee at the county's been rummaging through these numbers steadily. Okay. Any other comments?
So just a reminder, it's an average.
Average.
So they're not additive. It's
No.
an average of what those increases
Yeah.
are.
Okay. We can move on now to item 4.32 of our agenda, which is Steve Brockbank, our Director of Emergency. I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong spot here. My apologies. I keep jumping ahead. Yeah. Okay, go ahead, Donna.
Thank you.
One
With
more
your
item.
permission, I'll just keep talking.
You just, until you're done talking, I'm not talking again.
Actually, I was thinking on my way to
But-
work, this is my 17th budget here, because the first few years I was here, I was deputy treasurer.
Yeah.
I remember Reeve Flynn used to ask me every year if I bought new shoes, and I did. So- Something in the-
I was
guess
thinking the
provincial
same
federal
thing this morning.
You always ask me that, and I thought, I have to buy new shoes because Reeve Flynn's gonna ask me. So the public input on the 2026 budget went out with a request mid-September to mid-November, and we have summarized that for you. There was feedback received from 62 individuals, with 59% being full-time residents And once again, there was a pretty even split in feedback that property taxes only be increased enough to maintain the current level of services or reasonable increases to enhance services. So specific comments have been included for your information, and thanks to Rachel for summarizing that for us. So I don't know if there's any questions on the comments received or.
Okay, we'll just see if there's any comments or questions. Go ahead, Councillor Cadia.
I enjoyed the comment about the bus stop. We have bus stops?
The bus does stop.
Where is that Victoria and Elgin?
It's in Lindsay.
It's in,
Is that Lindsay?
Yeah.
All right.
we could stretch one over there.
There's Google mapping it, trying to.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, Donna, you can continue
Thank you.
with your work.
So the draft budget does include a change on how work plans are presented to you this year. In front of you is a consolidated work plan, which is a summary of all the work in all departments outside of normal work that is part of daily operations or something that has been assigned as one of the strategic, under one of the strategic plans. So the consolidated work plan does include an update on work completed and not completed in 2025 to date. There's also a list of potential barriers in getting work completed, which include things like staffing, additional or changing council priorities, and changing legislation. So I guess thoughts are on the new consolidated work plan. Did you find that helpful this year?
Yeah, you can see where we are a little better, I think, for me.
That's good.
Okay. So the next would be the strategic plan update that's before you. So thanks to Rachel for updating this for us. The plan is to keep this document updated regularly so council are aware of the successes and challenges in undertaking the work directed under the community strategic plan, economic development, tourism and recovery strategic plan, and open spaces master plan. There are also updates in this document on both the internal and external communications plan for your information. I don't know if there's any questions on
Any
any of
comments
those.
or questions regarding all the plans? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Armstrong.
Thanks, Mayor Limson. Office building addition on hold.
Yes, through you. The estimated amount for that was 3 million for the addition, and it was just way beyond what we had anticipated. We do have our clerk's department moving downstairs. Those offices have been done. We're just waiting for furniture for those. So we think it'll free some space up upstairs, but the reality is we are still cozy.
Cozy.
Let's be clear about that,
Yeah.
declare it in our, so that it's not sitting there as something that needs to be done or is being worked on. Okay. And the other thing was our community improvement program. Have we had any applications or any monies awarded under that this year? I looked for the line item and I couldn't find it, so I
Oh,
apologize.
it's actually in other protective services. It's
Oh.
in Eric's budget.
Maybe that's why I couldn't find it.
But I would ask through you
Sure, go
that
ahead.
perhaps Adele could provide an update on that, please.
Please, Adele, if you have that at your fingertips, that would be awesome. Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, since our new community improvement plan was established in 2024, I've had a few inquiries, but we haven't had any uptake. So I think we need to do a better job next year of promoting it and maybe getting out to the community and letting people know what's available.
I would agree with that, and it's disappointing after we spent all that money on a consultant to set up a new program that we aren't more actively marketing it and getting uptake. So to me, that was an investment, and unless we actually leverage it, that was wasted money.
Be nice if we had some update. Go ahead, Donna.
Through you. Rachel, would you mind speaking? I know it did get promoted quite a bit, so I would appreciate it. Rachel might just fill us
Sorry,
in.
sorry. Everybody gets a turn in the hot seat.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Welcome, Rachel.
Through you, Mayor, just to provide an update on what's been marketed so far, we just promote it through the website and newsletter and all those communication channels. And recently we sent out a letter to all of the properties within the boundary, but next year we can definitely, keep pushing the marketing and going to businesses.
I don't want to fill on this, but if I can just add, we're only talking about 20 or 30 businesses. And so I think we talked about direct person-to-person communication and visits to really promote this. I think relying on our website and passive sorts of things is just not going to be very effective. So I think we need in-person visits or a session or something. So just my own personal view, I think we need to ramp that up.
Thank you for your comments. Councilor Braber, go ahead.
Thank you through your mayor. With Deputy Mayor's comments, and I know Rachel's been advertising it as well, and my conversations in my travels every day, speaking with some of the business owners, and I try to promote it myself as well. Try to educate them. The main theme that I'm getting, it's not that they don't want to participate, it's just what's the value add. They say, well, how much do we get, and how much, what's the bottom line on how much we have to spend, and that sort of. So it was more of a reluctancy to participate, just because what are we getting out of it? Like, really, if we go through all the efforts and that sort of thing, but that's just feedback from some of the businesses. So, but I don't know how we get over that hurdle. Is there more incentive that we could provide? But I think it's already been, horses are out of the barn with that CIP. So just wanted to pass on the comments.
Go ahead, Adele.
Through Mr. Mayor, I feel that there is enough incentive in that program is a really good start, but I think what we're lacking is the real promotion and going door to door and talking to people, and maybe even leaving them a pamphlet of our programs. But the programs are and the incentives are very good, I believe.
Yeah, there's a very wide base of incentives that people can take advantage of. I think we just need to get people to know more about it, and I think that's important. Any other comments? Councilor Friendly, go ahead.
Yep, one comment through you, Mayor. We're kind of building on that theme that Deputy Mayor brought forward. I think there was also a delay in the launch. It took a lot longer to get the program running than we had expected.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none. Are you finished now, Donna?
Yes, we're finished.
Until the next item?
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, we can move on to 4.3.1, which is Donna Taggart, our CAO treasurer. Would you like to speak to this item?
Yes, thank you for you. So the capital projection shows a draft capital budget actual levy decrease of $277,413, which is the difference between the tax levy requirement from 2025 and 2026, and a budget increase of 2.252 million, which once again is largely due to the build in Buckhorn. So I did want to let you know that the OMPF funding was released recently. Trent Lakes will be receiving $1,756,128 under this budget, which is an increase of $200,900 or $28 per household compared to 2025. So OMPF funding, as a reminder, is unconditional funding. It's a grant that's provided by the province, and we use it annually in the capital budget to offset some of those costs. We also have been given the amount for the OSIF funding, and that's the Ontario Community Infrastructure Funding. And that has to be used towards renewal and rehabilitation of critical infrastructure. So it's a grant that's given also by the province and based on the current replacement value estimates for our core infrastructure, and staff have to provide those values annually. The weighted property assessment, number of households, and the median income for those households. And in 2026, there is an increase of $23,112 under that program. And so it will be $125,000 for 2026. That also has been included in the budget. This is conditional funding, and it has to be used for capital expenditures on roads, bridges, and water, and they have to be included in the municipality's asset management plan. And we use that funding annually to go towards the surface treatment budget because it's a large component of the public works spending. So yeah, I think we already went over how we'll deal with the budget requests that are in here. So yeah, if there's any other questions there, if not, we would just move to the first part of the capital budget.
Okay.
Through you.
Any comments or questions for Donna regarding that presentation? I'm seeing no questions. Okay, we can move on to item 4.3.2 of our agenda, which is Steve Brockbank, our Director of Emergency Services. Would you like to speak to this item, please? Have I missed something? I got a finger up.
It should be Evan first, so. But perhaps that's wrong. If we're going through the capital budget, the public works portion is first.
Oh, yeah, if we're going through the pages, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so relax for a little bit. Evan, you're on the floor. Speak to that.
Thank you, Mayor. Like I said, through you, Mayor, to members of council, before you today is the Public Works capital budget. Fairly standard stuff you guys seen over the years. There's surface treatment, gravel, couple fleet replacements, as well as the big one is obviously is the new build in Buckhorn. So I'll just go through. So for the surface treatment, the roads we have planned for this year is Mississauga Lake Road, the full length, Mississauga Dam Road from the end of that to Dam Road, as well as Dam Road, LaPonce Road, and Galway Road. The reasoning for only doing a section of Mississauga Dam Road is just because it'd be a fairly high cost to try to do it all at once. You do the back part with Dam Road, and then you can do the rest. The plan would be in 2027. Mississauga Lake is obviously the full length. LaPonce is as well. So with the surface treatment roads, they are all identified within our roads needs study as needs to be replaced now. Many of those roads, if you guys have been out on them, definitely need it. I know Mississauga Lake Road's in pretty rough shape. LaPonce Road there is very little surface left to it. So it's just your typical double surface treatment, so your tar and chip. And then for gravel crushing, we have about 24 kilometers, so I'll just go through the list really quickly here. It's Salmon Lake Road, Charlie Allen Road, Ranch Road, White Boundary Road, Parkside Road, Bear Creek Road, Pencil Lake Road, Cedarwood Road, Salico, and West Bay. White Boundary is not getting done twice. No. It was a typo, so it's just the one. Including with the gravel, we do try to do, at least I have tried in my time here, to do some correction to the geometrics. So if you look at, for example, Salmon Lake Road, if there's some culverts we can add in, whether we can do some ditching or something just to make the road nicer to travel on, as well as adding the gravel on top of it, similar to Charlie Allen Road. If there's something that we need to do, we like to do that as well. We're doing the gravel, so it's sort of, this is when we're doing the road, we do it all at once instead of doing it, gravel and then coming back in a few years to ditch. So have some sort of plan that way. You'll notice there's a significant increase in the gravel. Unfortunately, cost of gravel has gone up significantly in the past 3-4 years. I think that's just a result of everything else getting more expensive. Equipment's more expensive to run, to purchase, to repair, as well as with the increase in gases and stuff like that. So the gravel, we do try to keep that as tight as possible, but there is sort of contingency built into that to allow us to do the ditching and the other culvert work if needed, sort of thing. You may notice that there is a fairly significant amount left over from this year, about 65,000. So what we would try to do is purchase that gravel this year as long as the weather permits, do some stockpile, so we're reducing how much we're actually needing for next year. So if we can create a stockpile of gravel in an area to be used next year, we will definitely do that. Obviously, if we're not at snow plowing. Last week was, a nice little surprise to everybody. Another one you may notice there is Vesey Avenue North. So that's the price to do the work as directed in that notice of motion. I believe that was in the summer. That work is all we're doing it in-house. So that's why we've been able to bring the amount way down. We sort of looked at a few different things. What can we and can't do just to make sure that, one, we are getting an engineer-approved surface, but doing it as cost effective as possible. So the big thing of that is allowing guys to, our own forces to complete the work. We are hoping if we could do, there's some culverts to be done. If we could do those this year, if weather permitting, it's something that we would like to do. you're looking at the weather every 2 weeks, and if we can get the locates in and get those culverts in, obviously that would allow for quicker next year when we actually go to do the surface. So, we're looking at various efficiencies like that. Just your typical replacement of a pickup truck. Now, you may or may not know our pickup trucks are on 5-year replacement schedules. At the end of those 5 years, the pickup trucks actually have about, between 200 and 250,000 kilometers on it. So that becomes the point when, if anybody has vehicles, that's when things really start to go bad. You can start blowing engines and stuff like that. So you may think, oh, 5 years, that's a fairly short time. Yes, it is. But when you look at the actual kilometers we're putting on the vehicles, it actually sort of aligns with that to be able to, the last thing you want is a truck to be out trying to plow or put out sand or something like that and it break down and not being able to get the job done. The other piece too is the loader. So just with that to know, we're actually replacing, so that's the John Deere loader that's in Cavendish. We're actually going to replace that with a backhoe. So it'll be able to operate as a loader in the winter, but then come springtime and when we have those, whether it's frozen culverts, pulling beaver dams, we have an extra sort of tool to our toolkit. Currently right now we have 4 loaders, no backhoe, and typically we have been running a backhoe in the spring because when you have those frozen culverts and you need to run around, it's much easier to do that with a backhoe per se than trying to float the excavator around and stuff like that. The other big thing we do face, and this is an all year round thing, is the beavers. There's certain culverts that, are the high priority ones that the beavers just really like to go to. So if you can have the backhoe, it's an easier to mobilize that to go pull the beaver dam instead of having to float the machine in there, which can be some, quite cumbersome, as well as when you have a backhoe, you don't have the tracks on the road, so it's actually less damage to your road surface because a backhoe has tires and it has the soft stabilizers where our excavators are all tracked. So when you take those down onto the road, it actually doesn't damage it a lot, but over time, as you continue to go back to the same old culverts, it sort of can cause issues that way. And then, yeah, basically that's that for roads and building. And then the last one is the Buckhorn building. So for some of you who may or may not know, I'm not sure, Chief Brockbank's going to touch on it as well. So they have started to mobilize. They started grubbing and clearing the site. Honestly, a little slower than we were hoping. We're working through it with the consultant. It's sort of typical of a construction process. However, it is sort of, we're making sure our pencils are sharpened and make sure that we can try to get the job done as quickly as possible. Working with the consultant and working with Chief Brockbank, we get a question, we're responding quickly. So we can't be looked at as holding up the project. It's more putting it back on the constructor and saying, okay, guys, let's get going here, because unfortunately they wasted some good weather in the fall. And now they're getting into this lovely weather that we have. I mean, this week looks good, but it could turn again and we could get snow and rain and miserable stuff like we had on Saturday. So it's definitely obviously a big one. The most recent schedule, we still have completion for next year. It's just a little bit later into next year. However, that is something that we're trying to balance, because the further you push it into next year, then you start getting into winter, and then it sort of becomes sort of a coordination issue. We've already had to shift some operational things just to be able to coordinate with the construction. So we have different trucks working at different yards just to be able to do that, because we have less space on that site during construction. So it's you're trying to balance 2 or 3 things at once, but at the end of the day, our message has been to the constructor: you guys need anything, we'll try our best to accommodate you as much as possible, because our biggest goal is to get this project done. That's what we want to do, and get it done as quickly as possible. So that's the capital budget for Public Works. And if anybody has any questions.
Thank you very much, Evan Greer. Does anyone have any comments or questions? Go ahead, Councillor Franzen.
Yeah, I just have one question through you, Mayor. The Ford 150 truck, it has to be a Ford? Couldn't be a GM or Dodge? No, I just like when a tender goes out that we get the best possible price.
Absolutely. Thank you, Councillor Franzen. Through you, Mayor Lamb said, it's not necessarily going to be a Ford when we do it. That's just what it is right now.
Yeah.
So the current truck is a Ford, but when we go out, we're getting deals, looking at deals from Dodge, GMC, Chev, Ford, to see what we can get the best value from. One of the nice things about the purchasing policy, it actually doesn't go to tender. It's a 3-quote process, and that's a change that's been made in recent years. It's actually expedited, and I actually believe that it's allowing the municipality to get a better value, because you're not going through that tender process. You can sort of reach out and find where the best quotes are, because If anybody's trying to buy a pickup truck, it's really interesting, these dealerships and how the different ones functions. Like some dealerships you'll go into and they say, just whatever your price is online, that's your price. They're not even willing to work with you. Or if you reach out to other dealerships, they're more willing to work with you and want to have that relationship. I don't know what the reasoning is for that, but we've found that there's different dealerships that are willing to work with us and others that unfortunately aren't. But definitely 100% doesn't have to be a Ford. We're getting a breadth of quotes.
Okay, perfect. Any other comments or questions? I'm just excited to see. Oh, go ahead, Councillor Cadigan.
Just a question on the chipper. I see it included here. Is that the 48,792 from reserve?
Yes, so
John Deere.
this year we were actually originally had planned to buy the loader replacement tobacco this year, but with the ice storm, our chipper didn't work, so we had to do an emergency purchase for the new chipper. So the 48, I'll let Donna speak to
Yeah.
that.
So through you, it's money that we raised for that vehicle. We want to make sure we put it in reserves and use it in 2026. So the from reserve entry includes the 48,000 and change because we collected it this year.
Okay, and did we get money from the province for the chipper as well?
So through you, that was one thing that was very clear in the funding that was released, that it would not be for anything capital.
Okay.
That was something we would keep in our inventory for future years.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions? So are we buying a rubber tired backhoe? Because I kind of, this year? Okay,
Well, then, yeah, 20.
it's only 26, yeah, okay. Because I think that could be shared a little bit around too. So it's a good idea to have a rubber tired machine and you're not floating them everywhere. Okay, any other comments or questions? I'm seeing none. I think we can move on in our draft capital budget, the recreation and facilities. Bill, would you like to speak to this item or?
Sure, through you to Mayor and Council. So there's a couple returning items, our Lakehurst Hall lower bowl and our generator. As council is aware, the lower bowl was awarded last council meeting, so it's kind of slated for a July finish. As well as the generator, it is going to have to roll into next year as it's a 26-week wait for a generator. But luckily, that generator also did come in quite a bit under budget and what we expected. So we're hoping to leverage that in one of my requests later. Our general asset management, building and land improvement numbers, open spaces plan commitment, and a couple fleet vehicles. Again, like Evans, it's the Ford F-250. It's just what it is right now. Would be through our purchasing policy, through whatever's the best deal for us. If you have any further questions, I'd be happy to try to answer those.
Thank you, Dylan. Anyone have any comments or questions? I know I had a question, but it eluded me right now. I might get back to you.
Well, sorry, through you, Mayor, as well. You'll notice the paving of at the library. There's no funds and no numbers in there, but it has been completed, and final actuals will reflect that work is done. So.
Now I remember. How about a snowplow on the front of one of them pickup trucks? That was one of the things I was thinking of.
Through you, Mayor, that snow plowing, I believe, typically falls as a union job and
Okay.
would be very difficult for non-union.
That's fair enough. I will retract that statement completely. Thank you. Okay, any other comments or questions? Where'd you go? I'm seeing none. We'll move on to administration. I don't know who would like to speak to that. Go ahead, Donna.
Thank you, through you. So the administration portion of the capital budget includes IT replacements. There is a new printer scanner for corporate services included. There'll be new laptops and phones for the new council. And carpet for this room is included in that budget as well. There's also some additional funds for some more furniture that's required for the move for corporate services to this, to the basement here. So I wanted to also update you while we're talking about IT on AI. So I did request that that topic go on the last CIO meeting. We had a good conversation. Actually, they had their new manager of IT make a presentation to us. The county really is the only one that has started to do some work on AI. They actually have allowed staff to use it, anything Microsoft, so Microsoft Copilot. So that's embedded in Word, Excel, Edge, that type of thing. They're able to use it, Teams. There is some self-directed training. They did do training with staff as well. Their manager of IT, and then there's some self-directed training out there as well through Microsoft. That's free. The only thing they have limited is the use of AI bots to record meetings. So that's a hard no at the county. But I have had subsequent conversations with MicroAge as well about looking for a couple of project type things that we could do here that would assist in the future. But just to let you know, we're still investigating and working at that, and we'll keep council informed when anything is done in that regard. But I thought I'd just update you when we talked about replacements next year in IT.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you very much. We can move on now to the fire and rescue section of that.
Sure.
Try for 3 times to get to you, Steve.
Thank you through you, Mayor, to council. Other than the Unit 1, we will call it. It says F-150 on here, but that's what it is currently. It is up for replacement. Like Evan and Dylan said, it goes out equally to all manufacturers for the best deal. It is up for replacement. That is my truck that we're speaking of. And that since 2016 to 20,000 kilometers, it's been using 3 liters of oil between oil changes. And it's been at the dealer as much as we've had it. And it doesn't seem like Ford is going to do anything about it. So it is at its urgency stage because it sounds like a diesel truck, even though it has oil in it. So it takes frequent trips to the shop to get oil added and whatnot. But anyway, we're working through it. But there's no deferral. There's no recommendations for any deferral on that unit at this time. The vote for Station 1 we had up for replacement, but we've deferred that $65,000 until the new station is built to allow adequate room for that, as well as Station 2's boat. We've had it assessed and it's in great working condition and it suits the purposes. So we've taken that 80,000 as well. So approximately 145,000 we've kept out of this budget. And I have a paper coming next on the agenda as well. The equipment replacement is money we set aside for our asset management and whatnot for all of our equipment replacement, so 5 to 20 years. We have some money set aside for surveying and whatnot for all 3 departments, so parks, road and fire for the Cavendish site. And the new fire hall building is substantial. We have some IT upgrading this year as well. Any questions on that?
Yes, I think it's a common theme with the IT upgrade. Go ahead, Councillor Franzen.
Just one question. When I look at, I probably understand why, but when I look at the F-150 truck, the replacement, we have 110,000. And for the 150 from the roads, we had 75,000.
Correct.
Maybe if you could explain what additional features this truck had.
Absolutely. So through you, Mayor, to Councillor Franzen. It's approximately $10,000 for the lighting for our units as of date. That price has been going up extremely, and then the equipment to equip our trucks. So our lighting, our deckling, that stuff to meet that an FPA standard versus say an average work truck with an orange beacon and such as that. So that's the majority of it.
Okay.
I've put in 110. I'm really hoping that we will be below that. It's just, we don't really know nobody's holding a price today for more than 30 days for anything, including the truck ultimately, unless you've spoken for it. And that's done. So,
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions for Chief Brockbank? I reminded myself I'm not supposed to call people by their first name. Any, council, any comments or questions? Seeing none, we can move on to item 4.3, I believe now. 2, which is Steve Brockbank once again, our Director of Emergency Services.
thank you through you, Mayor. I'll start by thanking council for attending our fire department function on Saturday. It was, I think it was well received by staff, so thank you for that. Before you have a report recommending a change in the rolling stock asset management plan. Our HR1, our heavy rescue that's at Station 1 is up for replacement in 2027. It's approximately a 24-month order. So to go against our purchasing policies, we're allowed a year in advance, not 2. So to get in line with that, we would need permission, as well as we're looking at proposing taking HR1 out of service and replacing it with a crew cab pumper to align with our level of service. And it would be equipped with medical bag, jaws of life. It would be a one truck does all. It could act as a spare pumper for our department. And as well, it would be equipped with a foam unit pump as well. So that would triple our amount of water. But it would allow for 5 firefighters to go equipped with SCBA seats and do the job when we got there, instead of trying to have a whole bunch of vehicles on the road to get staff there and such. So it's an increase to the budget, but the unit is there now is approximately 450 to 500,000 for replacement. So it made the most sense to us to realign this at budget time to get permission to be able to upgrade that unit to a more efficient vehicle to serve our taxpayers. So I was looking for permission to be able to upgrade our capital rolling stock and be able to move forward with purchasing this vehicle and replacing in the replacement of HR. So HR is up for replacement, but I thought this was great timing. If we were to replace HR1, it's worked as a great unit for this time, but we're running more calls, and we're having being called out multiple times while trucks are out and we're on calls, and you don't have to rejig or call for another station to get a unit that has everything on it. So now we would run a pumper, a rescue, and the heavy rescue. Now we could run that one truck would do everything if another vehicle was at a station, right? Or if it turned, you get a first income call that says it's a medical, and then it's a transport versus passenger vehicle. It shows up with the full crew to do what you need to do. It's a professional look that we're shooting for, and it will definitely align with our level of service that we're trying to provide the public. Any questions?
Okay, thank you very much. I think there might be. Anyone have any comments or questions? Councilor Cadigan, go ahead.
Through you, Mayor, it looks like we're funding all of this through the next 2 years' budget. Is there no capital funds available?
Would you like to speak to that? I can.
Thank you, through you. There is certainly a reserve for fire, but we are utilizing a great portion of that over the next, with the build in Buckhorn, the next build in Cavendish in 2028. So no, there isn't really an extra 800,000 there that could be utilized for that type of purchase. You know, there could be maybe a little bit but not to that degree.
Thank you.
Yes, go ahead. Yeah.
I believe we had 280,000 set aside or in the rolling stock as a number for the replacement of that heavy rescue. But it would be, now we would be adding to that. We would have had to add another 250 to that anyway to replace that vehicle to catch up with pricing.
Right.
So instead of purchasing a vehicle for a 15-year lifespan that maybe isn't as good as it could be for us, this would flip the 15-year replacement in line with the pumper, and then that would be a 20-year replacement. So it would allow a full crew to go. It would triple the water volume with the foam additive equipment as well. So
How much water is on board?
it's 1,000 gallons. Yeah.
Okay.
So that would be an extra 1,000 water to the fleet. But then add the foam to it was 3 to 5 times, right?
Mhm.
I appreciate it's bad timing. It's just, it's before us today because it's a 2-year purchase time. That's the reason.
Go ahead, Councillor Cack.
One more for you.
Absolutely.
What make of truck are you looking at?
It's just through our purchasing policy, so it'll go through the tender purchase unless we find one that is already pre-built and there's a discount, and then we would come back to council with a report for support on purchasing that vehicle.
Okay.
Go ahead, Councillor Franzen.
Yeah, through you, Mayor. Just a couple quick questions. This vehicle, would it be small enough to go down most of our power roads?
Yes, sir, through you, Mayor, to Councilor Franzen. It wouldn't be any larger than the apparatus we have now.
Okay.
So, yes.
And this piece of equipment, is it common for a department the size of ours?
Yes, through Maryland said to Councilor Franzen. Yes, it is. There's a lot of rural departments going that way now. And what I should mention as well is we've doubled our staff almost in the last 5 years. So now we're having, now that we're having that attendance and we have that professional look, we can show up and do our job. But now we have to get the firefighters to the scene as well.
Any other comments or questions? Go ahead, Councillor Raver.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. I think it's a great purchase. I mean, as far as capacity and efficiency, and we have to treat Trent Lakes sort of on its own, and how you fight the fires just because of the expansiveness and that sort of thing, and any extra capacity, as you've already alluded to, would just enhance that. And I think it's important that you keep up with the times, and that's one of the most critical components to keeping our residents safe. So.
Deputy Mayor Armstrong.
Yeah, thanks for listening. I can't speak to the technical parts of it. I think you've convinced me that this is something we do need, so appreciate your making the case for it. My only areas of inquiry are around the financing. Can we net this a little bit against the cost of selling the old unit and build that into the budget? Can we take it from any other reserves? Are there any other sources of revenue available? It's just a big hit, obviously. It's about 4.4% increase to the tax levy for 2 years. So that's a big hit. So I'm just looking for any ways to sort of, minimize the financial hit to the taxpayers. Or amortize it or include it over 4 years instead of 2 years, or I don't know, whatever creative things you can come up with.
Yeah.
There's some
Yeah,
ideas.
go ahead.
Through you, or Mayor Lamb said to Deputy Mayor, we do, all of our old assets do go to Gov Deals and are sold. So we do, I couldn't tell you right off the top of my head what we received this year, maybe even you can help me with that, but I'll put everybody on the spot at once. But it's not substantial when we're talking 800,000, but we we do turn all our old equipment into dollars.
Every little bit's gonna help.
So
So if we could use even some of that to net against the purchase cost, sorry, through you. Nevin. So-
Yeah, go ahead. It's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
that's it.
I mean, through you, I don't, this is the type of purchase it would be nice to get help from other levels of government on because it is substantial. Yes, we definitely could offset it, but we just don't know how much we'll get for that type of thing. So it's not like we could build that in necessarily. We can go through reserves. Like I say, there was, I think it was 208,000 put aside for that vehicle. So it's a lot more than that. So no matter what you do, I think it's going to be an impact. I don't know how, and it's 2027 as well. So if you were to split it over more than that for years, then what would that do to your operation, Steve? So say you did it over like the 4 years that was suggested, when that vehicle is up for replacement in 2027.
Right, so through you, Mayor, to answer Don's question, it's back to what we spoke about at the table today. It's about the repairs and the condition. And I had a transfer case replaced in a truck this year. It went in for maintenance and it had to be rebuilt. And that was a $21,000 bill, and the truck was out of service for almost 4 weeks. So that's the unknown. That's the reality. I can't see those costs going down. It's just, that's where we're at. So that's the chance you take. If it breaks, it breaks. You know what I mean? That's what you live with. So we're just, like I mentioned before, we have bumped a couple of our units. So in theory, we're saving 145,000 this year, mind you. But
Go ahead.
Just
Deputy
to
Mayor
follow
Michelle.
up, if I may. So I think I'm hearing that the only options are reserves or netting against some potential sale value. I would encourage us to look at both of those, especially the potential sale value, because right now taxpayers are taking the hit up front, and we know we're going to get some of that back. So it's all on the backs of the taxpayers. So even if we thought we get $50,000, whatever you think is a safe amount, I would build that in. Because I think it's unfair not to acknowledge that we're going to get something and then reduce it by that. So I guess I'm just asking if we couldn't look at other ways to fund that to minimize the hit for this year. And I guess it's just reserves. Maybe take another look at that. Let's net off the sale cost.
Go ahead.
through Mayor to Deputy Mayor, if something silly happens between now and then, and there's a great reduction in costs because there's a surplus of fire trucks that are already built or something, like that's, of course, that's a bonus, but ultimately, it's crazy how much stuff has gone up. The tanker that we purchased, what we just received last year, was just over 500,000, and that same truck today is almost 650 in less than a year.
Yeah, understand.
Yeah, it's,
And the quality hasn't gotten that much better. And we've already maxed our years of service to the 20. We were 15. We've expanded that to the 20 year. So I guess if we could include that, we are creating this vehicle for another 5 years versus 15. We'll go to the 20-year replacement. So I'm not sure how those numbers work out.
go ahead, Councillor Cadigan.
Through your Mayor, these are Canadian trucks as well, so it's not tariff related. It's just
Through Maryland, aluminum
It's all,
tank manufacturers, a lot of the parts still come, the pumps themselves, they come from the States.
right.
we do have a very connected economy. Councillor Graber, go ahead.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. What types of warranties are on these trucks? And can you get extended warranties, and are they worth it?
Through Maryland, said, yes, there are. There's, every manufacturer has a different one, and it goes right from paint to drivetrain and pumps and lifetime tank warranties and such. So to answer that, yes, there are. To have anything extended, it comes down to dollars and cents. You pay for that. And then we did have a truck that had a tank issue, and it took me 3 years to get it repaired with conversations back and forth with manufacturers and suppliers and builders. But we finally succeeded at that this summer. So that was a win. But yes, they do provide them, and it varies.
Through your, I was just thinking your crank or your transfer case,
Yeah.
20,000. Is there a chance for that to be covered? Or is this like at the 10-year period for that truck and all warranties are expired?
So through Maryland said that particular truck is a 2012 and it's at station 2. So that's beyond.
There's no 15-year extended warranty. Thank you.
Okay. Like, just a question regarding that truck, would it be 4-wheel drive? Because it's kind of,
No, through there, it would not be.
because there are some of those available, but
Yeah, not
They're
for that size of
considerably more, yeah.
vehicle. And then to add to that though, the last tanker we had purchased or built, we added the on-spot tire chains. So that's like an air maxi pot. They need the switch and the chains go down in front of the wheels. So that's been well received by our firefighters, and it's been quite, it's saved us a couple times already with that truck in the last year. So
good. Very important, but they're expensive. I'm looking at federal and provincial funding somehow. I don't know that there's anything available. I mean, could we call it growth related? You're doing that because we're growing and we're expanding our communities, but it's very gray area. I don't think you get much money from either one of those levels. But and I think we can find some community support. Like you can probably have a fundraiser of some kind for a vehicle like that, just to set it up so that it's help. We might get some community people and some businesses in the area that might be interested in helping with that. So we can't count on those in a budget. So, okay. Any other comments, questions? Councillor Franzen, go ahead.
My question, it's just a comment. My comment is about budgetary. I feel that this will be hard to swallow from council or taxpayers to increase their taxes for this purchase by 3 and 4%. I can't support a budget that goes over a 4% increase total. And I have some concerns about putting $400,000 on a new incoming council.
Okay. Thank you for your comments, Councillor Franzen. Any other comments or questions? Councillor Braver, go ahead.
I'll make a motion to receive the report and to support the recommendations. We do that now?
I don't,
Yeah, I think we're going to do them all at the end. So,
Or-
yeah,
okay.
just that was the hope.
Disregard.
Because there's a substantial amount of asks and wants and needs. It's going to get flipping back and forth quite a bit. So. Okay. I mean, I guess we don't need any kind of motion if we're just going to move along. Okay. We can move along to our next item. Thank you very much. To item 4.3.3, Dylan Koshar, Director of Recreation Facilities. Would you like to speak to this item, please?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor and Council. So before you have my annual hall requests report. Lakehurst responded and they said they didn't have anything to submit. So it's just Galway and Cavendish. The Cavendish Hall had requested some washroom upgrades. The washrooms are pretty well circa original up there, so as well as the facility lacks accessible washrooms and entrances as well. So we've used some of our operating budgets from 2025's consultancy. We've got some rough numbers and some designs 4 accessibility upgrades on both levels. So the lower level, we would make the entrance and look to make the entrance, the library, and the meeting room downstairs accessible. There's not quite enough room to make a current code accessible washroom down there. So we would make we only need to offer the one because there is an at-grade entrance up top with the back entrance there adjacent to the parking lot. Upstairs, the washrooms would be reconfigured to allow for a accessible universal washroom, as well as a male and female washroom up there, and some necessary changes to the fire separation between the upper and lower level there that would be triggered with a new permit, as well as a new ramp, all the appropriate door openers and whatnot. That we're including the second request there, which is some ceiling repairs in the lower level meeting room. We'll already have a GC on site, so it'd be easy just to roll that into that. So those numbers are rolled together. We're hoping currently this is slated to be funded from reserves. Every year we put away that AMP money. This is the type of thing we use it for is. So that's where that would be funded from. And then as well, this is accessibility. We're really hoping we can get a grant, for that. We've looked once already. We haven't found anything, but I know we're hot on the trail looking for that type of stuff. Moving along to the Galway Hall, they've asked for 3 items: a kitchen entrance expansion, the generator, and electronic message center. They did ask for signage as well. I will didn't scroll down far enough here, and some mortar repair work front. And there's a signage one that I did not include on this report because I'm doing that as a part of the signage strategy that we kind of already put through council. So they will see that done regardless. The kitchen entrance expansion is just a little awkward for them to be moving garbage out through it, kind of around the stairs and back. I think if we were to approve the generator, that we can solve some of those pains, and because we'd be able to move where they dispose of their garbage now to where the existing generator was. And given the sensitivity of having a full-size generator that run the whole building, we're recommending just maybe deferring that electronic message center to a further year. And the mortar repair, just breakdown from salt exposure over the years. We're hoping to just cover that as a minor repair under our AMP funds in 2026. So I've outlined kind of where it's all funded there down below, as well as obviously it's included in Donna's impacts to budget for those requests. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer those.
Okay, does anyone have any comments or questions for Dylan? Go ahead, Councillor Cadigan.
Through your Mayor Lambshead, I got a couple questions, Dylan. I guess I'll start with the generator for Galway Hall.
Sure.
I think that's like necessity. I think that's almost in our emergency plan. It should be part of it. Personally, I think that the ice storm last year showed how effective our community centers can be, like Cavendish's setup with the generator. And I think that we should have that in Galway as well. So I see that as a priority. The other one was the salt damage. We just did a whole bunch of repairs in Cavendish as a result. Have we changed the salt usage or protocols? We have, good. So we can see less salt damage.
I don't know who would like to answer that, but
Through you, Mayor, I would, Evan's team does the snow clearing and salting there, so I would defer that question to.
Great.
I can just speak quick. Yeah, we don't put salt down in.
Okay.
We don't shovel that. That walkway is closed for the winter now. So.
Sorry, Evan, that's our front entrance. The front of the main one.
Yeah, like the
At
bricks.
Galway.
Oh, at Galway.
Galway, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. We spoke to the guys to try to reduce. It's one of those balances because you do need to, unfortunately, keep it safe and open, right? So it's sort of, we can close it, we can. I have sort of talked to the guys to try to reduce the amount of salt we put out, but.
Is there something else we can use that's a better product is what I'm wondering.
There are various options for, ice melting. One option could be, typically you could use big traction. So you could use sand instead of the salt.
Yeah.
However, one of the downfalls of that is then you'd be tracking a little bit more sand into the building. There are, there's different options for salt, but it is quite expensive when you start looking at those, especially when you're doing it over an extended period of time. So it's an ongoing conversation, the same as with my plow operators, is how can we, do things a little more efficiently and cause less damage. So for that specific one, I've just sort of told the guys, try to reduce the amount of salt you're putting out, but it's a lot cheaper than getting a lawsuit. That's sort of what we, at the end of the day, we're trying to make sure that we don't, because those slip and trips and falls, those are your biggest liabilities. That's one of the reasons it's so nice in Trent Lake that we don't have sidewalks, because when you get into those sidewalks, that's when you get those slip, trips and falls. And it's sort of, we can definitely look at, look at different options purchasing. But like I said, I've gotten some different flyers and stuff for different, companies out there saying sort of like a beet juice sort of thing is the one big thing that they're talking about, but it's, instead of paying for rough numbers about $10 a bag, you're up to $35 a bag. So.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none. Okay, we can move on to our next item.
Mayor,
Yes, go ahead.
that's right. I thought we were
Oh.
going to have it.
Okay.
Back to Dylan, if I may, through you, Mayor.
Absolutely.
Do we have grant match? Is it online?
So thank you, and through you. We have had a couple of conversations with them. They haven't been bringing forward too much at all at this time. They have our project list and they've gone through all our capital spending and they haven't identified anything. I did specifically go to them about the washroom to see if they could find us anything, and they came back and said no. So it is ongoing. I did frankly think it would be them contacting us more, but I think they're aware of what we have. And there just isn't funding out there for some of our big ticket items that include trucks and roads and that type of thing. But yes, no, there hasn't been a lot of conversation, but we have had some.
You think you'd get something towards accessibility things. I mean, that's a thing that our province and our federal government should be helping us fund. It's their legislation. Go ahead, Councilor Graber.
I just hope that they're, they don't, as a company, as a business, they're not just waiting for the big ticket item, right? Because they operate basically commission, right?
Yeah.
A percentage, so.
Yeah.
So I guess it's still incumbent upon each of our department heads to, be alive to it and be having the feelers out there as well.
Yeah.
And at least I was hoping that this grant match would, and that was the pitch too. Let's take some of the work off our staff, which doesn't seem to be the case. So,
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and just through you as well, I can let you know that Rachel did attend. There was a session in Peterborough recently from all the funding organizations, and she did attend that. So we definitely trying to locate any funding. There's currently one that's just been released to fix potholes that we're going to apply for. But that just came out last week and it's due by December 12th, I think. It's the date. There's always a quick turnaround, but it's something. It's 38,000. But we are on it trying to find funding for sure.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions for Dylan about this item? I'm seeing none. We can move on to item 4.3.4, which is Dylan Kosher, Director of Recreational Facilities. Would you like to speak to this item?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor and Council. This item is a returning item from 2025's budget discussions, which was deferred, based on competing budget priorities. So I just wanted to bring it back again for Council's consideration. This is the parking lot at our Odenang Park lot, adjacent to the general store in downtown Buckhorn. Would be looking to formalize the parking. Currently, it's a bit gravel on top of the pink rock there, and we would recommend to join it in with John Street. It kind of doubles up a bit. Conversations with Evan is we'd be able to move some of the John Street snow and the snow that kind of takes up that parking into kind of a corner there, and make sure there's a little bit more parking on that side, on John Street there as well. Just to kind of support the downtown core, the businesses down there, support the park. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Okay, thank you very much, Dylan. Anyone have any comments or questions? Go ahead, Councillor Cadigan.
Through your Mayor Lamb said, did I see two options, like going straight down along the building or going around two sides of the building? Was that another option?
Through you, Mayor. So the two options were, one was to, if you're familiar with it, there's already some asphalt adjacent to the building there. Would be just basically to come parallel down to the building and then stop. And then the other option was you could wrap it around to connect with the kind of the little parking lot on the John Street side. So it gained, I don't know if I have it specifically in front of me, but you gained roughly another 7 or 8 spots by coming around the corner as well. That kind of also can help with a bit of traffic flow, as you've got 2 ways there versus everybody coming in and out of the same entrance. So that's why we kind of preferred the one that connected with John Street, and the financials of it were minimal in difference. I would have to look that up if you wanted that information, but that's kind of the reason why we chose that route.
Thank you.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Armstrong, go ahead.
Thanks, Mayor Lamb. One question, 2 comments. The first question is, gas tax reserve, would gas tax reserve pay for parking?
So through you, we are using a fair amount of that for the funding of the Buckhorn build, but I did contact them last year about this, and no was the answer.
Okay, that was that. The 2 comments. The first one is, I'm still not convinced that we're fully utilizing the lot that we've leased or that we're using from BCC. I don't think the signage is very large. I don't think it's, easily noticeable. So I still think there's capacity there that we're not fully using. The second comment is, it's important. Everything on this list is important, but we cannot afford an 11.75% increase in taxes. So we're going to have to make some hard decisions and prioritize. And to me, things that are safety related are, of the most important in our list. And this one, for me, unfortunately, just has to fall off for another year. It's, again, hard stuff to do, but something's got to come off this list. And for me, that would be something that we could defer without any terrible downside in terms of safety or health.
We have removed some parking in the downtown core of Buckhorn, which, the no parking signs along the side of the road there, which is great for safety reasons. I do agree, this is one of the things that we could defer for another year or so. This is a very heavy budget and a heavy budget request. Okay. Any other comments or questions? I don't see none. We can move on to item 4.3.5 of our agenda. Dylan, would you like to speak to this item?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor and Council. Another returning item that Council suggested bring back this year, and recognizing that there's a lot of priorities this year. This is the new to fleet tractor loader backhoe. And I know there's been discussions in the past with Public Works purchasing one. Their unit would be a lot larger. We've got 4, 5, 6 foot pathways and, lawns and around buildings that we're trying to get into. There's certain jobs that, we could share that on. But the reality is, I couldn't drive the Public Works backhoe down to White's Beach and remove a stump. That's just way too big for that. So currently we are, as we were before, and we're just renting. We rent from Home Depot typically, as they offer a float with it, which no other rental place that we've been able to find seems to do that. So this would be for the purchase of a tractor loader backhoe and a float to go with it, as well as we're requesting to go through a non-competitive bid process and select a Kubota unit. That the reason for that is that's the unit we have been renting all along. We're very familiar with it. We know it works well for what we do. If that's not something council is interested in, we would go through open procurement.
Okay. Thank you, Dylan. Okay. Anyone have any comments or questions? Go ahead, Councillor Faber.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. Is this the same backhoe loader that No, so two different loaders we're talking about? Okay. Okay, I do support this, but I thought it was going to be the one purchase of the back loader that could be shared between the two units. But I do, one of your compelling reasons for purchasing the backhoe was the point of competing access during emergencies and trying to rent them, trying to be the first person, at Home Depot to get the equipment and that sort of thing. So that sort of struck me. So, but I'm just having an issue with purchasing two backhoes.
Through you, Mayor, to Councillor Braybrook. That's what I was speaking about is Evan's unit that he's got on the plans might be 8-9 feet wide versus this unit here is like 4 feet wide, 4.5 feet wide. Just gets into those tight park spaces that we have. Like I said, there would be jobs that, I'm sure we go in through a big gate at Sandy and, sit in the park, but I wouldn't be able to drive it up the ramp because the ramp's only got 6 feet wide. So those repairs, box grader and that after rainfall, you're done in 5-10 minutes versus having a crew of 2 or 3 people there for half a day. Those units at Home Depot, like you say, if you don't rent it for 4 weeks at a time, it's really hard to get it. Like, we had to return it. We didn't get it again this season. So it's just the way the market is.
Yeah, and when Public Works is using their backhoes, probably the time you want to use the backhoe. So it just doesn't seem to work. Okay, any other comments or questions? Deputy Mayor Armstrong, go ahead.
Thanks, Mayor Limson. This again is one of those. It's not at the top of the list of things that are on here from a safety health perspective. We do have alternatives, which is renting one. I realize that it's logistically, it's challenging, et cetera, but the math just doesn't work for me. I mean, we've rented it for 6 years for about $55,000. That's not bad on an annual basis. If we bought it, what would its utilization be? 30% of the time, 40% of the time. So I look at what's the utilization of a capital asset that we're going to purchase and how much would we be actually using it. And I don't think it justifies the cost versus the opportunity or the ability to rent when we need it. And I appreciate that we can't always rent it when we need it, but that's the downsides to both. So I wouldn't be supporting this.
Okay, any other comments or questions? I know we've deferred this on you, Dylan, a couple times already, and those repetitive injuries that we talked about before are continuing. Go ahead, Councillor Trent.
That's just a comment. I agree. I think I know there's a need for it, but I believe we have to defer it just because of the budgetary constraint.
Okay, any other comments? I'm seeing none at the moment. I'm lost again. Okay, we can move on to item 4.3.6 of our budget. And Dylan, would you like to speak to this item as well, please?
Sure, thank you, Mayor and Council. I didn't speak to this much in my hall request report because I knew I already had this in his request, and that's a generator for the Galway Hall. With Lakehurst coming next year, Galway would be the only one without a generator to run the full building. Sorry, I did list some, what we can currently run there. I'm going to be basically a skeleton crew, and the biggest problem, in an event like the RI storm that we just had is heat in this. They can't power those rooftop units that are there. Additionally, we did request on the finances side, we did, budget over 3 years for a Lakehurst Hall generator. We had $200,000 in budget this year. It came in, and we're going to be in and around the $150,000 mark on it. So we've got some money left over from it, as well as we would be purchasing a very similar unit. Galway's needed to be a 3-phase unit versus a single-phase unit at Cabinet or at Lakehurst, sorry. So we have basically a tender ready to go for this one. If it was approved, we could get better numbers for it if council wanted to move on that and be able to put a solid number in the end. So we're hoping we can draw from reserve for part of it, and then tax levy the remainder of it to get this one in place. And again, we were a 26-week wait after award for our Lakehurst Hall generator. So it's a big wait to get this in. So we'd want to be getting this tender out and moving here fairly soon. And I think our corporate services department appreciates not waiting till the last second either.
Councilor Francis, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd just like to have a comment to you, Mayor, and a question. I know when the storm was on, they had extension cords running all over the floor to feed certain things that they needed, so that wasn't really a very safe situation. And the other question is, the generator they currently have there, is there any resale value on it to
Through you,
help
Mayor.
fund the project?
Through you, Mayor. There could be a minimal amount. I mean, it is quite old. I don't have the exact date, but it's been here as long as I've been here. And there's some quirks about it that, you know, the battery charging unit isn't quite operational. That's why we had some of the issues in the ice storm, and we had to rejig some things so that it will keep self-charged when it's running. So there would be a minimal resale value, a number I couldn't peg on that, and I wouldn't, you know, we're talking probably cents on the dollar, to be honest.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Deputy Mayor Armstrong, go ahead.
Thanks, Mayor Limsey. And thanks, Dylan. I think you said we expend the Lakers generator over 2 years?
Through you, Mayor. Three.
Three. So is there an opportunity to do that with the Galway generator? So we could spread the costs out over a few years? That would certainly ease the burden.
Through you, Mayor, that's certainly possible. That would be up to council's prioritization of when they would like to see this come to fruition.
I would throw that out as a suggestion.
It's an option.
Because I think this is certainly, again, safety, health, it's important. We saw the need for it. I support it. I just like to ease the financial impact on our taxpayers if we could spread it out.
Okay. Something worth looking at for sure. Okay, any other comments or questions regarding the generator? I'm seeing none. I think Bianca had her hand up there. We go. Okay, we can move on to 4.3.7 of our agenda, which is Dylan Gosh, our Director of Recreation Facilities. Would you like to speak to this item, please?
Sure. Through you, Mayor, to council. My last request here is for installing the remaining municipal fob system. So you guys all have your little rectangle on your keys there that gets you into our building. So we've got all of our community centers are done. This building is done. We have it at the 49 Depot. So the last kind of buildings under my purview would be the Buckhorn Library and our 2 health centers. The library specifically kind of brought it up this year, which kind of triggered me to also include it for the other 2 buildings. So that $20,000 would get us fobs at the rest of the buildings, and kind of speaking to what there's some discussions earlier on, you know, how good prices are for example, these guys, they're like, prices are good for like, we get from their suppliers like 7 days. So there's a bit of cushion built into this number, and hopefully that we see it come in a little bit better than what we've put in here, but to try to put a number that would be safe in there, that's what we've got.
Okay, any comments or questions? Deputy Mayor Armstrong, go ahead.
Thanks very much. Thanks, Dylan. I support this idea. I think it's been a really important thing for us to get control over who has access to our buildings. It was a little bit of a uncontrolled frontier before. But this is one of the 3 where I'll make the same comment. For $20,000, I would say go back, find some efficiencies and cost savings in the budget. I think, again, there are some areas that I've identified where we aren't going to spend the money that we budgeted last year, but we've budgeted the same for next year. I think we can pare that down a little bit. I think there are opportunities in there that I've seen where we can find $20,000 to support it.
Okay, any other comments or questions? I'm seeing none. Thank you for that, Dylan. We can now move on to item 4.3.8 of our agenda. And Larry Gay, our Director of Building and Planning and CBO. Would you like to speak to this item, please?
Good morning, Mayor and Council. This is a budget paper request for two-way radios for the Building and Planning and Bylaw Department. Currently, our vehicles have one radio in them. We have 3 vehicles fleet. We have no two-way communication when we're in the other vehicles, nor do we have any two-way communication on a portable status. So we're looking to purchase 2 in-vehicle radios and 3 portable radios. We will be reusing existing infrastructure that's located here in this building. We have a base station that we can repurpose. All antennas and hardwiring is all in place and ready to go. We're looking to, so this is a capital request. However, it does not have an impact on the tax levy or the tax increases. This will be paid through reserves, through our strategic plan reserve, I believe, service delivery reserve, pardon me. I can take any questions if you got them.
Okay, thank you very much, Eric. Anyone have any comments or questions? Councillor Cadigan, go ahead.
To your Mayor Lamb said, this seems like a safety issue. I think that we should support it.
Thank you for that comment. Any other comments? I have a tendency to agree with that. I think we need to be able to communicate, and we still know there's many areas of our municipality where cell phones don't work. Some of these radios may not even work, but at least you can find a way to get to each other. And it's important to be able to communicate with your staff when you're out, you're on the job. There's potential for injury, there's a potential for any confrontation. So I think it's a very important thing to support. And I like that it's coming out of the service delivery. Okay.
Thank you, and through you. The service delivery money, I just wanted to let council know, after I think we got it in 2021, that's the end of spending for it. So it's been we have a long list here of things we've used it for. It's been great to have, but that's the end of it. So that's why the decision was made. There was just enough for this project, but unfortunately that's not there anymore. There are some entries for 2025 that have not been made yet. In particular, the purchase, council approved the purchase of the new mullock and dog cage-in out of it. There's the signage at the community halls. There's a few things that the entries haven't been completed, so it does reflect that there's still a bit of spending there, but it's at the end.
I was very curious about the exact number to the penny, so I thought, maybe that's what's left in that reserve.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? See none. Can you, sorry, Councillor Bader, go ahead.
Through you, Mayor. To our CEO, Donna, you mentioned 2021 with the reserves and all that. How did that come about? And does that start again? Like, is that a 5-year term or?
Good. So through you, the province released $627,969 for municipalities in 2021 to use to create efficiencies. So it was a pot of money that was given by the province as a one-time, and we would love to have it again because it's been very good to have there. We've used it for a lot of different purposes. For instance, the food cycler machines, we did a couple of rounds because there was a component that the municipality paid towards those machines to get them out there. But no, at this time, I'm not aware. It was just something that year that was given, and we've just been able to rely on it for the past few years.
Perhaps that's something our American.
I will
Squeaky wheel in
I
every.
just wrote that down.
every 2 weeks.
And
Yeah, it'd be nice to have another little lump sum.
Yeah, I mean, that was a great program, and it really helped
Yes.
municipalities finance some of the things that have been put upon us by the province and our federal government. So I think it's important to ask for some more of that. I will do that.
We'd be able to round Eric's paper up to 10,000.
10,000. Sure. Okay, any other comments or questions regarding that? I'm seeing none. Okay, thank you, Eric. We can move on now to item 4.3.9 of our agenda, which is Matt Winges, our Supervisor of Waste and Public Works Coordinator. Would you like to speak to this item?
I would. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you to the rest of council. I was here to request $25,000 for the purchase and installation of 2 underground waste storage containers, or mullocks. They're not actually mullocks because it's a brand name, which has been confusing, I admit, but so we're calling them underground waste receptacles or containers to complete our organics program across all of our sites. So this would allow us to have organic collection at all 4 sites now. So we would be putting 1 in Cavendish, 1 in Crystal Lake. since there's lower traffic at those sites, we don't anticipate the need for more than one, as we do in Bobcaygeon and Buckhorn. And then also the request of 12,500 annually for hauling costs. Now I put this in here, but if we were to approve it, we wouldn't be able to install it until late spring likely. So it wouldn't be that much in the first year, but we want to get an idea of what we don't fully know what it's going to cost because this is relatively new, but our best estimates say. If you have any questions?
Okay, anyone have any comments or questions? Councilor Franz, go ahead.
I just have a comment. I think it's great that we're going to have this service in all 4 of our sites and that our municipality, all of the areas in our municipality are covered. Important program.
Deputy Mayor Armstrong, go ahead.
Mr.
Thank you, Councilor Franz.
I have mixed feelings on this one. Absolutely agree with Councilor Franzen that we give our residents the opportunity to divert more out of landfill. We know the landfill sites have less than 10 years left. So we're in a bit of a bind here. On the other hand, I wouldn't say that we've been successful. If we still have 39% of organic waste, let me say this right. 39% of the organic waste that's in our garbage could have been diverted and isn't at Buckhorn, where we have the mollusks. So I don't think we're doing a good enough job educating and encouraging our residents to utilize the ones that we already have. So I support it. If I had to be really clinical, I'd say I don't think they've been successful where we place them so far. So let me just finish and then absolutely come back because I want you to, because I am of mixed minds. So I think the focus for this year coming up should instead be to try and drive down the amount of organics that's going into garbage at Buckhorn and Bobcaygeon. And once we've been successful in getting that down, then we look to expand it into Cavendish and Bristol.
Okay, I think you would like to respond. Go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Absolutely, and there is work that needs to be done on the organics program as a whole that could take place next year, with the promise of, in the future, having it at all sites. I will say that number though, until very recently, I learned that, I shared that with the staff, not last week, and they said, oh yeah, obviously that was because the mulch weren't working, that they were full. So that I don't know how accurate this number is anymore.
Wow.
I can reach out, it's still high, because I think most people that would have thrown at it would save it. They wouldn't just throw it in their garbage in a lot of cases, but some may have. So I understand what you're saying, and it could absolutely work, but just so you take it with a grain of salt.
No, I appreciate that clarification. Thank you.
Sure.
It's important because I'm missing a lot on that number.
And just to build on that, what Matt spoke of, one of the things that you can actually do is once you have it at all 4 sites, is you can actually adjust your clear bag bylaw to speak to limiting organic percentage within that garbage. So right now you couldn't say, you're only allowed 5% or whatever because Cavendish and Crystal won't have an option to dispose it, so it's not fair. Or if you provide those options, then you can say, okay, no, this is the enforcement that's cross township municipality, and this is sort of what you're expected to do.
But there are other, sorry, there are other terms. There's a food cycler, so it's not as though they don't have other options. I'm not so sure that I agree that we couldn't start to ratchet down the percent that's allowable, even if you could enforce it, which you really can't.
And through, just to add on to that was always the intention down the road to eventually phase out allowing organics in the clear bags. I'm not going to throw that at people right away. I want them to enjoy the program in the beginning, and then as they become more comfortable with it, we can start imposing some restrictions on the actual bags. But like Evan says, is if some people have more options than others, I don't want to actually, cause any more trouble. It needs to be done until we have everyone involved in the community, and then we can crack down.
And I do think you're going to find that the provincial government is going to regulate no more organics
2030.
in, I think it's 2030 or
2030.
2032, that's
Yeah.
most likely coming.
Yeah.
So I think we're being proactive by getting these mullets in every one of our municipal transfer stations. And I think a lot of this was, we used to have a restriction on the tonnage. I don't know if we still do or not. I'm not sure where we take this now, if it goes to the county yard or the city yard. So I don't know if they do.
In organics,
Yes.
it now goes to the county yard, so it's changed now.
So yes, Harper Road, just to build on to you, Mayor, it was Harper Road, and there was a limit, but now that they built their new organics facility at Pensford, and there's which has allowed us, because yes, you're right, there was a limit on saying, you only get X number of weight per year. Now we want all the compost we can.
Yeah, and I think if we do a good advertising program and make sure people know that, and that we no longer have a limit to what we can take, I think you'll find more people, myself included, that will do more of that. So I think it's important to get this available at all 4 sites, that we do have the opportunity to then educate people to put all of their organics in them, so that we can reduce our amount. And I know the one audit was said 20% of the bags were organics, but I don't know where you come up with 38%.
It's in the report.
Oh, yes, but the county audit said 20.
So it can be misleading, and like I said, they weren't operational on that day. But also, the 39% includes things like dog waste, which is a huge percentage of it, which is something we're not accepting at this time anyway. So you're right, just food, like leftover food waste is around 20%.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. Okay, thank you. Some great ideas there. Councilor Francis, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd just like to make a comment through you, Mayor. I know the waste or the transfer station I go to in Waukegan, every time people come in, they remind them about the organic waste. So the staff is very vigilant in promoting the program.
We're very excited about it.
Yeah.
Okay. Councilor Braber, go ahead.
Through you, Mayor. You mentioned that just over 12,000 yearly haulage costs. Now, is that anticipating with the 2 extra mullets?
That's correct. So that would be just for those 2 sites. And that's basically the cost. The cost of disposing of the organics is minimal. It's getting the truck to come and empty it is the main cost there.
And what's the yearly cost of the existing mullets?
We don't fully know yet because we haven't had a full year, but it's significantly, well, it's about that for just bulk gauging. We're anticipating. We've broken it up 7,500 for Cavendish. We've taken 5,000 for Crystal, since they, traffic's much lower at those sites. So I do anticipate it being lower, but I'd like a bit of a cushion there, since we really don't have a good idea of how many people are going to be interested and, how fast those things are going to fill up. So.
Just one last question.
Okay, go ahead.
What's the lifespan of the mullets? I haven't even seen one, so.
Yeah, no, that's fine. They're very cool. They, the ones we've purchased, Sutera have it's 20 or 25-year warranty on them. And they said that as long as they've had them in practice, because this was relatively new technology, they've had minimal issues with any of them. They're actually used, they use them in Toronto and Hamilton.
Good.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments or questions on that? I'm seeing none. Things going on in my stomach. So now we need to move back and find some motions. This is going to be confusing for my paper.
Sorry. Thank you, through you. I
Yeah.
thought this would be efficient, but apparently it wasn't.
No, I
I
think
thought it would be easier to go through them all first to allow you an opportunity, but
I completely agree. It just gives us an idea of where we are dollar-wise, I think so.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going back to item 4.3.
Mayor, could
Two,
we
yeah.
recess for 5 minutes?
Absolutely, yeah, sure. We would take a little 5-minute break if everybody needs a little stroll and stretch your legs. Okay, we're back. Now we can move back up to item 4.3.2 of our agenda. And Steve Brockbank, our Director of Emergency Service, would you like to speak to this a little bit? Give us a little. No?
This is the one I spoke to earlier, Mayor, but I can, if there's.
Yeah,
any
no, I don't,
questions,
yeah, I think more answer
Any
questions
more clarification or anything, I'd be happy to.
before we start into a motion of
deal
some.
with
I think any extra information anyone needs? Councillor Franzen.
Not any extra information, but I don't think I could support this over 2 years, but I think I could support this if we could draw it over 3 years. Lessen the hit on the taxpayers on the upcoming budget.
Okay, thank you for that comment. Anyone else have any comments before we move forward? Deputy Mayor Armstrong, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Marilyn. I said, I'm kind of in the same space as Councillor Franson. I'm almost thinking that we should defer this, send it back to staff to come up with a more palatable proposal around this, however that is, extending it over a few more years, netting off the cost of the resale, as I spoke about earlier. Because I can't support $400,000. I can certainly, I want to support it. I just needed the number lower, and I'm not in a position to determine what that should be. So I would prefer to defer it back to staff to work that out.
Would you like to comment about that? Is there an opportunity to investigate other options?
Yeah, through you, Mayor, to Deputy Mayor Armstrong. I think the reality is we can stretch a vehicle as long as we want to, as long as we're prepared for the outcomes. Ultimately, that's why it's been brought to councils today is if we don't agree with replacing it and changing, we're really trying to refine our fleet and get less equipment to do a more practical job for what we do today. So ultimately, it is council's decision. I really can't see the price going down because it hasn't. We have these discussions every year. It is hard to put a value on a piece of equipment if we're going to keep it for another couple of years. I don't have a crystal ball ultimately, and I don't mind bringing anything back to council if I have a direction on what they're looking for ultimately. Because I need to know to get an answer.
If I can just follow that up.
Go ahead.
I totally support the purchase of it. I think we need it. You made the case to me. I'm just looking for Donna to go away and to work some magic with the
Looking for a
numbers,
miracle.
so that we can minimize the impact of taxpayers. So I'm supportive of it. I think we need it. I don't want to defer it much longer. I'm just looking for Donna to go back and see and just be as creative as you can legally with the financials.
I like the legally caveat there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I support this vehicle 100%. I think this is a great idea. I think this is a one size fits all sort of thing for many, many calls that you're going to have a lot of your staff in it. We're going to be using it consistently. I think it's a very important purchase. In this financial environment, it's difficult to support this kind of dollars on a single budget. So I think if we could look at some other ways to do this, I'm 100% in support of doing this. It's just, we need to have a better financial way because this is a huge hit to our budget numbers. So I don't know. Go ahead, Councilor Franzen.
My thoughts were if we spread it over 3 years, we'd be looking at approximately 275,000 per year.
Still a 3%.
Yeah, which is a little bit more palatable than 400,000 over 2 years. Or 400,000 per year over 2 years.
Okay, I think, go ahead.
Yes, through you, Mayor. And I appreciate those comments. We have been quite diligent, and Donna can speak to it, on our 10-year rolling stock and realigning everything. And ultimately, if I'm not here next year and you're here next year, we're going to have the same discussion because all of the numbers have gone up.
Yeah.
So it's going to be difficult moving forward. And I appreciate everything that's being said today. It's just that's the reality with the level of service we're trying to provide today.
Yeah. Deputy Mayor Armstrong, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to propose a motion that council approve the request for the procurement in principle. We direct staff to go back and look at any ways to minimize the cost of the taxpayers and bring it back to council in a short period of time. Whatever that is. So it's really take a sober second look at any way we can finance this a little bit more deftly.
I'd be looking for a seconder for that motion. Councillor Cadigan for a seconder. Any further conversation? Seeing none, I will call for a vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Okay. Look forward to some creative accounting and procurement. Thank you. Okay, now we can move to item 4.33, which is Dylan Kosh. That's the hall budget request papers. We would like to ask any questions or seek further information, or can't find where I was. Okay. Councillor Cadigan, go ahead.
Through your Mayor Lamb, I just wanted to confirm the 200,000 to fund washroom accessibilities. That's already available in reserves.
Through you, Mayor, yes.
Councillor
I'd like
Brandon,
to make a motion to support this request.
the 200,000?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. There's several more there. I don't know if we.
Yeah.
Okay. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Cadigan for seconder. Any further conversation? I think that we might want to try to find some grants for that as well. I think that's, there's more to it than just awarding the money. I think we can, there should be, and there probably is somewhere, there grants available for that. We just need some more investigating into that, I think, I hope. Yeah, Councillor Braver. go ahead.
Sorry, through, just for clarification on the recommendation, Councillor Franzen's motion, that includes the approval of the use of 10,000 for the mortar repairs?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. I'm not sure that that's.
Sorry, can I just clarify, is it the recommendation as in the report or just the approval of the 200,000 for the washroom and accessibility upgrade?
Recommendation that's in the report.
Okay, that,
And that's what I'm seconding.
okay. I'm not sure if that includes just those items, not the generator. Yeah, there we go. Now I'm on the right page. Thank you.
Of the other
Yeah,
items.
okay, okay. That's, now I'm clear as mud. Okay. Any other conversation about that? I'm seeing none. I will call for a vote. All in favor? That motion is carried. Thank you, Dylan. Thank you very much. Okay, now we can move on to the item 4.3.4 again, which is Dylan Kosh, our Director of Recreational Facilities. Would anyone like to discuss anything more about the parking lot in Buckhorn? I'm gonna wear this binder out. Okay, and I believe it was like 150,000 requests. Yeah, okay. Councillor Franzen, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to defer this item till next year.
Do I have a seconder for that? Seeing Councillor Braver for a seconder. Any further conversation? Any questions, comments? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. We are deferring that once again. Okay, we can move on to 4.3.5 of our agenda, which is Dylan Kosh once again for our tractor loader backhoe. Anyone care to speak about that? They really have a difficult time. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Armstrong.
Thanks, Mayor Lynch. I would make a motion that we defer this until next year's budget considerations. Regretfully, I'm sorry.
Feel my shoulders and back. Do I have a seconder for that motion to defer? Councillor Franzen for a seconder. Any further conversation? I'm seeing none. Just a comment. I think it's difficult for me to support this because deferring it because we've already deferred this once, but I do understand the need to do this for financial reasons, so I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Okay, we can now move on to the Galway generator, still in cost, at 4.3.6 of our agenda. Would anyone like to have further information or other questions for Dylan? Councillor Franzen, go ahead.
I would support the generator if we do it under a 3-year purchasing plan.
Okay,
That'd be it, be 3 payments. I understand we have some money, so it wouldn't be the total cost of the generator because there is some money in reserves, but to finance it over 3 years.
okay. I think that's an important thing at this point. I mean, we're throwing stuff on other councils, but I think it's important. Councillor Cadogan.
I have a question
Okay.
for you, Mayor.
Would you second it first?
Yes.
Okay, I'll second that motion first, and then you go ahead with your question, please.
Dylan, will this delay the replacement by delaying the payments?
Through you, Mayor. Yes, we wouldn't tender it until we had all the monies raised.
Did I hear you correctly that we didn't spend about 50,000 at the Lakehurst? That
Yes.
would be in reserves?
Approximately, yeah.
Okay, approximately, yeah. So we really only need 100?
So my comment would be, I think that we need this sooner rather than later, and I'm going to vote against the motion.
No.
Okay. Okay, Councillor
Through
Bear.
you, just in alignment with Councillor Cadigan's comments. So if we were to, we're deferring it over 3 years or putting it over 3 years, could you purchase it now and then it's like a payment plan or no? It's.
Through you, Mayor, I don't think, not to my knowledge, generally you get it and you pay for it type of thing. I don't know, that would be kind of just like a loan, right? There'd be interest implications and stuff.
Yeah, so I share, I almost said Constable. Councillor Cadigan's thoughts too. I mean, if we need it, we need it. This is about safety of our residents. And I think it's yes, it's a hit, but I think it's important that we have that up and running. I mean, it was, we experienced our ice storm and I could see it if we hadn't had the ice storm and the impact of that and how valuable even the BCC and all the Cavendish, all the halls that were available, the feedback I received from all the constituents that I had interaction with, they said it was a welcome and it was almost like a little Linus blanket knowing that they could go to the nearest hall. So I do support your recommendation as laid out in your budget paper.
Okay. Councillor Franzen.
Mayor, I withdraw my motion.
Okay. The 24 to 26 month waiting period for a generator is. Sorry,
Weeks.
3 weeks. I mean, sorry, 24 months would be a bit long. Yeah, you know, so I kind of have to support this. This is about the safety of our residents. In the case of another emergency, I know this adds more to our line items on our budget, like our numbers, but it's difficult not to have the same at every facility. I mean, just that's my.
Thank you, Melinda. You sparked something in me. If it's 26-week waiting period, we're not going to get this until the summer of next year, which means we will have got through the winter, which is the particularly vulnerable period.
Mhm.
I wonder if we could finance it over 2 years and get the thing January 2027. For, when we start into the winter, which is, again is our worst and most vulnerable period.
I don't think we would predict disasters.
No, true enough.
Well, that's
We
true.
could have another ice storm, we could have a windstorm, we could have anything,
That's
or
right.
nothing. We could have
Fire.
nothing.
Through you, Mayor.
Councillor Baber, go
I
ahead.
think this item here, I don't think you're gonna get a lot of pushback from our ratepayers that we're, spending this type of money on a potentially life-saving facility, especially the warming and that sort of thing. And the mention that Councillor Franzen made about all the extension cords, that's just a fire hazard. Not being a firefighter, but I can just imagine. So I think this, again, I'm belaboring it, but I do support it.
Okay, so we don't have a motion on the table. Is anyone prepared to make a motion? Councillor Cassidy, go ahead.
I'm making a motion to support the recommendations for council to approve the request for 200,000 for a new generator at Galway Hall and transfer from recreation vehicle equipment reserve amount of 100,000 to fund a portion of the generator.
So we're really only asking for 100,000. We're going to use some of our,
Through your mayor as well, pending if we get this tendered early enough, we might be at less than that 200,000 number.
okay. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Braber for a seconder. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Thank you very much, Dylan. Now we can move on to item 4.3.7 of our agenda. Please go ahead, Dylan Kosh. If anyone has any questions about the FOBs. Comments, questions? I can't make a motion or I would. Councillor Faber, go ahead.
Just a further comment, reflecting on Deputy Mayor Armstrong's comment about the FOBs. I'm on the fence with this one. Is this one that could be deferred? Is everything operating, status quo? Could we save 20,000 and push this to when there is an issue that, yes, we have to address the FOB issue? So I'm on the fence with this one.
Yes. Deputy Mayor Armstrong, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks very much. I would make the motion that I sort of verbalized earlier, which is support moving ahead with this, but find the monies to fund it through some savings in the existing budget. So not an additional $20,000.
Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Cadigan for a seconder. Any further conversation? Councillor Braber.
Sorry, just a clarifying question. So that motion is contingent on finding the 20,000 elsewhere. Okay.
Can't remember your name.
Jesse.
Jessica.
Can I just clarify that it's also to proceed with the non-competitive bid process as well?
Yes, sorry, I didn't include that in the motion.
Don't think we want
Because you wanted
a different system in any other buildings. If we're going to do this, we should have everything the same. We agree. Okay. We've got a mover, a seconder, and conversation. I will call for a vote. All in favor? That motion is carried. Now we can move on to our two-way radios. I think we kind of already jumped on this. We need a motion. Councillor Braber, go ahead.
Motion to approve the budget request paper from Mr. Eric Gay.
Service, out of service delivery budget money. And do I have a seconder? Councillor Cadigan for a seconder. Any further conversation? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Now we can move on to 4.3.9 of our agenda. Matt Winges, would you like to answer some of our questions and clarify if we have any? Thank you. Yes, you did a good job at persuading. Okay. Anyone have any comments or questions or is prepared to make a motion regarding this item? We're overwhelming ourselves with some information and things, but this is one of those things I've said many times in this chair and other chairs in this room is that it's nice to see that we're doing the same thing at every transfer station. It's, these are expensive items and I know they're difficult to fund and finance and organize the trucking but it's just, think it's important for all our ratepayers that we can reduce our organics weight going into Trent, into the landfill in Peterborough, because it is going to have an end of life rather quickly rather than long term, because some of the changes in how we're handling waste is going to probably generate more stuff going into landfill rather than into recycling, which I think is absolutely backwards. So there, that's my rant for the day. My apologies. Anyone prepared to make a motion? Councillor Cadigan, go ahead.
I'll make a motion to follow staff recommendation, request for 25,000 and 12,500 for hauling costs.
Okay, do I have a seconder for that motion? I'm seeing Councillor Franzen for a seconder. Any further conversation? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Okay. Now we can move on to item 4.4 of our agenda, which is other protective services. Item 4.4.1, Eric Gay, our Director of Building and Planning and CBO. Would you like to speak to this item, please?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I've got a bit of a preamble for you here. Some of it will be repetitive, as Madam CEO has already spoken to some of these items, but it's good to hear it once again. What you have before you is the proposed draft budget for other protection services for the municipality of Trent Lakes for the fiscal year 2026. I'm going to provide you with some of the highlights and rationale behind decisions for this proposed budget. So as you can see on the summary page, there is a marked increase in operating costs for 2026. There's a proposed increase of $254,452.02 for a 7.33% increase in expenditures, with a tax levy requirement of $229,058.12 or a 2.01% increase from 2025 to 2026. The increase to the proposed budget are driven by a few factors. There's a potential 11% increase to the OPP services operating costs is one of them. The provincial government has indicated that 11% is the maximum increase the municipality can see for next year's OPP services budget line. So we have inputted the maximum increase of 11% in hopes that the percentage increase will be less than what is being proposed for the 2026 budget. And the budget will be adjusted accordingly, assuming that it's less than 11%. To help offset some of this increase, the Police Services Board has advised that there will be a decrease in operating costs of approximately $9,000 in 2026. Unfortunately, there has been an increase to certain legal budgets within the portfolio. Both the building and planning departments have seen the need for increase in their legal budgets respectively. The current budgetary levels are not sufficient to bring legacy legal files to a resolution, and decisions made by overseeing governing bodies have left the department with the need to increase those financials. The financials associated with the enforcement of the Building Code Act and our municipal bylaws. The provincial government has taken steps towards possibly bringing Building Code Act enforcement under the administrative monetary penalty system, which would help in reducing the legal strain and financial costs involved with some of the more minor infractions that we see on a day-to-day basis in the construction industry. In the wake of the provincial government's recent announcement regarding the potential amalgamation of 36 existing conservation authorities into 7 larger ones, there remains hope that the efficiencies and redundancies that the government seeks will reduce the costs to the operating budgets moving forward. A 4.14% increase has been applied to the Conservation Authority budget line to reflect recent increases that the municipality has seen. But the final numbers are not yet known. In the proposed 2026 draft budget, $200,000 will be taken from appropriate reserves to offset some of the costs associated with the upcoming zoning bylaw amendment and overhaul, the community improvement plan, and for OPP services. Staff have been working diligently to prepare an RFP for the zoning bylaw amendment and overhaul. A rough draft is currently being circulated to the appropriate parties for review and comment to ensure that all necessary requirements are captured. The planning department is expecting the RFP to be ready for release to the public within Q1 of 2026. There has also been an increase in planning action fees in 2025. These fees are closely tied to building permit activities. Typically, as permits increase, so does development and consequently the fees received. To date, we have seen 64 permits issued for dwellings this year compared to 69 of all of last year. In 2025 has seen a grand total of 370 building permits issued in comparison to last year's 377. So we are on the same trajectory or status as we've seen in year past. There's also a proposed increase in contributions to the building vehicle reserve to offset the increased costs of vehicle replacements, which we've all heard about earlier today. The department has 2 vehicles that are slated for replacement, one in 2027 and one in 2028. Staff are continuously looking to find reduction in costs and savings for the taxpayers of this municipality. Earlier this fall, the software provider that provides the software for our building, planning, and bylaw departments were proposing a 100% increase in fees. Through constant negotiations and communication with the provider, staff have been able to decrease that number to approximately 30% increase. Through consultation with our member municipalities within the County of Peterborough and with municipal staff, it was determined that the planning module provided by Cloud Permit did not meet the requirements of the department nor the ratepayers of this municipality. So moving forward, the planning module of Cloud Permit will not be renewed at a cost savings of approximately $4,370 per year over the next 3 years. This help will offset some of the cost increases we see in the building and bylaw modules. The cost savings of the removing of the planning module has not been reflected in the current proposed draft budget, as this was achieved late Friday of last week, and all budget documents were at that point were already published. So in closing, the other protection services proposed draft budget for 2026 is closely tied to many other factors that are beyond the control of staff, and staff are committed to finding efficiencies and cost savings for all stakeholders involved. I'm happy to take any questions if you have.
Okay, thank you very much, Eric. Anybody have any comments or questions? Councillor Cadigan, go ahead.
Through your Mayor Lamb said, Eric, will there be a replacement for the cloud share?
Through you, Mayor, and not at this time. We will continue operating as we have in the past, which we find to be more efficient for our ratepayers here. The Cloud Permit module for planning just was not conducive to the amount of paperwork and the amount of transactions that have to happen with the public when it comes to planning applications. So at this time, no, we will not be replacing with anything new.
Okay, thank you very much. Good question. I think generally in our community, I think I find the same comments, is that's not working. So, thank you. Okay, any other comments or questions? Councillor Braber, go ahead.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Thanks very much, Eric. Just a couple of questions. Under the bylaw enforcement line, the 5802, the very first one, labor and wages. It shows 2025 budget was around 80,000, and the actual is just over 62,000. And in the 2026 budget, the ask is 102,000. Can you explain the numbers there? How we get, there's 2025 is budgeted for 80, actual 62, and in 2026 we're asking for 102.
So through the mayor, that would include the 4.5% increase that has been mentioned earlier. And I would have to defer to Madam CEO, but I believe there may be benefits that have been added into that number for 2026.
So thank you, through you. Keeping in mind that the amount before you is not the final amount for the year, there's still some payroll to go. Also, we do a journal entry to transfer some of the administrative assistant in building and planning, some of those wages over as well, that we haven't completed for the entire year. So the amount of the increase in there is based on the 4.5% increase and the anticipated costs associated with offering that from more than the bylaw enforcement officer. We put other wages there too.
Just another.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
One of the other lines, it says planning advice. Was that the external planner, Chris Jones, or is it something else, or is it legal?
Pardon me, I'm just trying to find that line.
What is the line item?
Yes,
Do you happen to have that,
yes.
Councillor Braber?
So is that on page 83? 58, 20, 94, 96?
Let me just scroll down.
Is it what's up on the screen?
Oh, thank you.
There we go.
Yes, thank you.
How easy.
So through you, that is Chris Jones.
Yeah.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, and my last question, thank you.
Sorry.
That's all right. My last question, thank you, Bianca, for having that. The maintenance, official plan and zoning bylaw, 2025 total budget was 125,000, actual is 0. And then there's a proposed budget of 120,000. Is that, can you explain that?
Through the mayor, yes. So for that 120, we are transferring 100,000 from reserves. We're moving that forward, and 20,000 of that will come through taxation. That's the expectation. That's what we're proposing, but we're hopeful that it will come in well under budget once we get our RFP out in the early part of next year and see where we sit with that.
Okay. Just my last question about this one. So it says the 2025 actual, I guess, to date is 0. What monies would be drawn from that 120,000?
Through the mayor, there are no monies being drawn through that yet, as the process hasn't been completed as of yet. So once we get that and it's allocated to a consultant for the proposal, then we start drawing from that.
Okay. Thank you.
That's- Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other comments or questions about that item? Thank you very much. Go ahead.
Just following on Councilor Braybook, so why isn't the full $120,000 that we didn't spend being brought forward to 2026 and not impacting the taxpayer?
So you want to?
No, by all means.
So through you. So it was anticipated to use 100,000 to go towards that. And you're right, there could be an additional 20,000 if nothing is spent this year. I wasn't entirely sure at the time this was printed, there wouldn't be something.
There, as far as there is nothing that's been spent on that.
Oh, yeah, okay, all right. So we could, through you, take 120 out of reserves for that purchase. Yeah.
Just save 1%.
There you go. Sorry.
Oh, thank you. No, that deserved a good. Okay, any other comments or questions? I'm seeing none. We can move on now to item 4.4.2 of our agenda. And Eric Gay, our Director of Building and Planning, CBO.
Thank you, Mayor. So on March 4th of 2025, Council passed resolution R 2025-83, which has to do with the short-term rental accommodation bylaw. And in the recommendation, one of the things was they wanted staff to bring back a yearly report as to how the first year is. We're a little bit early this year. Because we're in preliminary talks for budget, we thought maybe we should bring this forward so you have a full view as to what's going on with regards to the short-term rental, and if there's any changes you wish to see done, then we could maybe implement them in the budget side of things as well. So what we're actually looking for here, staff are looking for just some clarity with regard to how the program is rolled out. We're looking for direction to implement a bit of more of a proactive enforcement as opposed to a reactive enforcement. The program right now is based solely on complaint-driven side of things. So at the time of this report, 91 short-term rental accommodation applications have been received, 66 of which have received full operating approvals for a total revenue of $23,100. A total of 9 applications have been denied. As the municipality, we have no records of any on-site sewage systems for these particular ones. The remaining 17 applications are either incomplete or operators have chosen not to go through the system and continue to operate without approvals from the municipality. As a result of the program, there have been a total of 14 on-site sewage systems that have been replaced or permits towards replacement of these sewage systems, which accounts for 17% of all sewage system related permits that have been issued so far this year. During the early stage of the development of the STRA program, the working group estimated approximately 150 properties were operating as short-term rental accommodations within the borders of this municipality. Based on staff observations and investigation, it appears that the estimated 150 may be a conservative number. During the application and review process, STRA rental sites and advertisements are reviewed for each property that apply. And in doing so, it appears that when we locate one, a lot of times in close proximity to these particular ones, there are others that are there, but we are not proactively following up on these as we have not received any complaints based on that. Through the first year of implementation, some clarification was found to be needed around certain definitions or terms to assist in defining what may or may not be rented as an STRA. For example, a short-term rental accommodation is defined as a building and not a dwelling. With the passage of bylaw 2025-070, which permits the addition of additional residential units within our municipality, we may wish to consider, council may wish to consider amending bylaw 2025-024, which is the bylaw for registration of short-term rentals, to include ARUs as a non-permitted use. Consistency and clarity with the bylaws that govern the municipality are key to successful implementation of these and any future programs. Applicants are given options to gain compliance. When septic records were not available, applicants were given opportunities to secure the services of a registered wastewater engineer, to review the on-site sewage system located at the property, and to provide us with documentation that says that the proposed use can be sustained by the on-site sewage system. So during the first year of enforcement, it's been complaint-based, relying mostly on the public to alert staff and potential violations. Staff have undertaken an education-based program that is social media, mail-outs, phone conversations, door-to-door when we happen to be in certain areas and we see stuff that potentially could need clarification. We do talk to people when we're out on site. In hopes that these folks would take the first steps into registering their STRA. Any complaint-driven investigations that were commenced with a site inspection and review for all STA platforms to confirm operations and to open the dialogue with the owners in an effort to educate them and gain compliance. If no contact or conversation occurred resulting from the site inspection, a notice was sent to the last known address, and in some instances, we would send out a registered letter indicating that they need to register their STRA. Only in circumstances where education has failed and owners are non-responsive would further enforcement be taken under our AMP program by issuing monetary penalties on that. Staff have made a concerted effort to educate and advise the public about requirements to register all STRAs within the municipality. During the first year of implementation, staff have taken a more passive approach to enforcement, but a more proactive approach to the STRA program to ensure compliance with municipal bylaws and the Ontario Building Code is recommended. As reported in Q3, in our Q3 report, 32 complaints have been received regarding STRAs. So a proactive approach would be allow for more education, more enforcement, and the issuance of administrative monetary penalties to try and gain some form of compliance with operators. I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Eric. Anyone have any comments or questions regarding this conversation? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Armstrong.
Thanks, Mayor Limson. Thanks, Eric. First of all, an excellent summary report. Appreciate it very much. I think it's notable that we have identified and corrected some septic system issues. And in other cases, we've lowered the advertised capacity to conform with the septic capacity itself. So good work. I think you had a great process going. One thing I would say, at one time, we think it's closer to 300 is what we think about. At one time, Granicus, our third party, told us they had identified as many as 550 ads on some sort of social media platform, but we sort of narrowed it down to around 300. So I think it was a respectable number that we had the first year going passive. I think we always thought in the back of our mind that the next phase would in fact be a proactive approach. Once we had educated people, give them an opportunity, So I certainly support the recommendation that we move to a more proactive approach to identify them and get them to register. Thank you.
And I concur. I mean, 91 out of maybe 300, maybe 400, it's a good start. So I think we've got people on the right zone there now. So I think it's time to reach out to some more people that are doing it, because these people have tried to comply. So now it's time to get everyone to comply. If you're going to do it right. So, and I'm impressed because most of these will probably be waterfront properties that now have better septics and systems and things in place. So I think that's good for our water, good for our lakes, and hence good for all of our residents in the municipality of Trent Lakes. So thank you. I feel like I'm ranting again.
No, that's my
Go ahead, Councilor Baber.
Thank you, through Mayor. Thanks, Eric. That was a great report, and I do support the proactive in the sense that you laid out as far as, actively looking for the people that have not registered and are operating. So I full support of that, and it's only fair to the people that have registered and especially replace their septics and that sort of thing. I did receive a few calls and correspondence regarding your report here, and it was more of to allay any fears in the language that was used in your report, specifically dealing with, and I'll just read that, and I was surprised that they reviewed the whole budget and they brought this up. So they're worried about mission creep. That was the word that one of them used, is when you said in your report that you're going to be actively looking to enforce the building code, violations of the building code and the bylaws. That just put the fear of God into them again, saying, oh geez, if we do want to participate in this, I thought there was an agreement that, and it is in the short-term rental accommodation bylaw, where it's sort of narrowed what the building code would be looking for in relation to a registration for a short-term rental accommodation. So they were just looking for some assurances that it wouldn't be mission creep, and it would be just the case that no, the building code will be honoring what's in the bylaw and that sort of thing. So they were just looking for some clarity and assurances.
Through the mayor, absolutely. Our intent isn't to be heavy-handed. Our intent isn't to be this overreaching governmental process here. We do have a responsibility, a duty of care for life safety side of things. A lot of these existing STRAs are older buildings that were approved under older, codes, and some of them there were no codes at the time at all. So we wouldn't be going in there and, you're looking at people's guards and doing all. The intent is to, when we're doing research for a specific one, if we find others, we'd like to, be able to be proactive and reach out and say, hey, are you aware of this? And, hopefully that we can get some more compliance and get more people on board. And to Deputy Mayor's point, and improve some of these septic systems, because some of these buildings, their sewage systems are 50, 60 years old. Some of them are a 45-gallon drum in the ground. And if you're going to rent out your space, you need to be a responsible owner and do so in that aspect of it. So to allay any fears out there to the public, our intent isn't to come in and apply today's code standards to these existing buildings. Now, if you're building something new with the intent to become an STRA, then absolutely the code will supersede and be held up at that point. But that's what we're trying to do, is just to kind of wake the few that are around, that the bad eggs that are still out there.
Okay,
Thank you. Thank you.
any other comments or questions? Councilor Caddy, go ahead.
Through you, Mayor Lamb, has there been any fines applied yet to the AIM system?
Through the mayor, we have had a couple fines that have been applied at this point. I do believe one of them has been sorted out, and there's one that still remains outstanding at this point.
Okay, Councilor, go ahead. This is our time.
So the idea would be more fines next year?
Through the mayor, the expectation is only when we don't receive any type of communication or any type of feedback. If you ghost us, then we have no choice. That's our next step, is to go through the fines that we are permitted to do so under the AMPS bylaw.
Okay, thank you.
think that's a good proactive way to approach this. You reach out. If you choose not to reach back to me, I'm going to come at you a different way. So I mean, it's just the next step. So I agree with this completely. Deputy Mayor Armstrong, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks very much. Another thing just occurred to me. Do we have the capability to proactively enforce without the use of a third party to help us identify where the existing short-term rentals are?
Through the mayor, if at all possible, we would prefer not to bring a third party in there because there's costs associated with that. Like mentioned in the report, whereas we're looking at STRA, and adjacent to STRA, there's 3 or 4 more in that little area that we can find. So we're looking to move towards getting those ones as well into compliance. So, and again, we rely on the public to let us know that, hey, somebody's running a short-term rental without approvals.
And I guess just to follow up, we can scan some of the online social media platforms where people typically rent, like Airbnb and Vrbo, to identify others.
Yeah, through you, Mayor. We actually do that.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Edmund?
I was just going to say that I've also been recording whenever someone brings in a one-time waste pass into the transfer stations. We usually get them to write their address on there that they're staying at. So I have a little bit of a database there, and we could maybe cross-reference.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That's great.
The only comment I have is concerned about staff time. You overwhelm that department sometimes. So, as you move through proactively, you have to be cautious of what kind of overwhelming you're doing to both building and planning, because it's a very busy department. So just wanted to bring it up. You're waving that pencil.
Sorry, on a roll here. It's just a nit, because it's all your fault, Councillor Cadigan, because you asked the question. But our AMP revenue this year is $4,700, and we're only budgeting $1,500 next year. But at the same time, we want to increase the AMP regulated bylaw violations. So there may be a few extra dollars in there.
Through the mayor, yeah, we have, it's one of those numbers where you kind of throw a dart at a dartboard because you don't know what the expectation is. In the perfect world, everybody accommodates and everybody registers and there's no problems. The AMPS bylaw also has other avenues that other things that we charge to as well, not just SDR. So, but it's one of those numbers where, we've done well here. Let's see what we get next year as well too. And hopefully maybe we can set a trend and maybe change the numbers at that point.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that report and conversation. Okay. Anybody have any more comments or questions, or is prepared to make a motion? Or 2 motions, really. Deputy Mayor Armstrong, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll make the motion to receive the report and to direct staff to implement a proactive approach for short-term rentals consisting of education, compliance, and enforcement of the STRA registration bylaw.
And while you're on a roll, item 4.4.1 needs a motion as well. No, doesn't? Okay, never mind. Doesn't. It's just a budget item. Okay, I like the motion. Anyone care to second that? Councilor Brayberg for a seconder. Any further conversation? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Okay. Thank you very much, Eric. Now we can on to item 4.5 of our agenda, which is general government. 4.5.1 is Donna Taggart, our CAO treasurer. Would you like to speak to this item, please?
Thank you, and through you. So if we're looking at the summary page for the draft budget for the general government portion, the summary page shows an increase of $286,371 or 13.30%. So this budget shows an increased tax levy of $265,651 or 2.33%. So the increase in this budget is mostly due to the split of the CAO treasurer position and the overall department. The budget does include a decrease in investment revenue due to continued decreases in bank account interest, but there is additional internal interest included this year for the unfunded capital amount being collected relating to the 49 depot. So just to note that there is a change for 2026 to include revenue from sale of all municipal property, which is why the shoreline land sales amount is showing a 0. It's just been incorporated into the 4310-1360 GL. And the general government budget includes a transfer from reserve for election spending, as funding has been set aside for this annually. There's also a transfer from reserve for the Buckhorn Medical Center for commitment to the doctors and amounts unspent in the 2025 sale of property, GL, and accessibility. This budget does include a transfer for the extra wages. I've already indicated that. And that was done as a one-off because that is allowing for proper succession planning with current staff. So unless there's questions there, I would ask that Jesse maybe speak to the elections budget and her portion, please.
Thank you, Donna. Does anyone have any comments or questions about that part of our budget projection? I see no hands. We can move on to 4.5.2 of our agenda. And Jesse Clark, our Director of Corporate Services Clerk, would you like to speak to that item, please?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Lamstead, this is a budget request for an election coordinator contract position. During the 2022 municipal election, there were 2.5 employees in the Corporate Services Department that assisted with the election. This election was unique for staff as it was the first one in their roles and introduced paper ballots with tabulators. During this time, communication was also handled by individual departments where we now have the communications coordinator. While staff feel they have a good foundation for the 2026 election, additional help will be needed during the busy months, July to October, to handle changes in the preliminary list of electors, to be the main contact for election questions related to voting and updating information on the voters list, assist with the preparation and administration of advanced voting and paper ballot tabulation, and liaise with departments to develop a comprehensive orientation program. So the addition of this position will help in providing customer service to ensure the appropriate coverage during the election. And a dedicated election coordinator position will allow corporate services staff to sustain daily departmental operations in addition to the election workload. The wage for this position is the starting wage of the legislative coordinator position and includes some additional funds for benefits. And the overall request is for just under $24,000.
Okay, thank you very much, Jesse. Does anyone have any comments or questions regarding this item? Seeing Deputy Mayor Armstrong, go ahead.
Thanks very much. This is the last of my 3 where my suggestion would be that we look for opportunities in the existing budget and we find efficiencies and cost savings on this position. Again, there are some areas where we're not going to spend what we had in last year's budget, but we are budgeting the same amount for this year, or there may be some revenue opportunities through that. So I think that it's possible to fund it through existing savings opportunities.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions? No, not seeing any, nowhere. Okay, anyone prepared to make that a motion? Or a motion?
On the motion that council support additional resources at staff's discretion to support the election next year, but fund it out of savings from the existing budget.
Thank you for that. Do we have a seconder for that motion?
No.
Okay, Councilor Franzen for a seconder. Any further conversation? I'm not sure how we're going to find those efficiencies because I think they're pretty efficient so far. But,
well, if you look, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Councilor Graber.
Yeah, just a question to the motion. If we aren't able to find the efficiencies, I mean, staff's already identified a need for assistance, so I just don't want that to fall up. If you don't find the monies, does that mean it's staff are sort of SOL, so to speak?
Yeah, I get how you're sort of speaking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's that's a busy time and staffs. It's important to have the support there, I think so. Yeah, so if we can't find efficiencies, what is our next step? Maybe we have that in our motion at this moment, maybe? Do we? Do we have any
Support the
other?
motion as written, with the mindset of, the caveat of look for other areas to fund it.
That's, yeah, I think we're going to speak to that. If that's an adjustment you want to make to that motion or not, but.
Through you, Mayor Lamson, I think not. I mean, I think finding $23,000 in a $1.1 million budget is something that we may be able to do. If you recall, when we had the ICE costs come forward, there was about $150,000 we thought wouldn't be reimbursed. And we said we would find it in our existing budget. So there's money there. And we will have a surplus probably this year. We don't know how much that will be. So my motion remains that we would direct staff to find the savings to support funding for that position.
Okay. We didn't get a second. Okay, so any other conversation before I call for the vote? Okay, I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Okay. Yes.
Mayor Lamson, may I missed something on the
Yes.
budget, just a question. The annual service review of 33,000, are you
Yeah.
saying that we will,
Yes.
we will not have any monies left for next year to fund that? Is that the case?
Yes, so through you, there were just a couple more things I wanted to mention, and
Yeah.
that was one of the
Okay.
things in that budget. So I wanted to let you know, yes, as far as the service, there isn't monies for that. We did add money in there. That is for the review of council's wages, but it's also to look at hiring a third-party person to hire the CAO treasurer position. So it isn't funded through service delivery reserves. Those monies have been expended. I also wanted to let you know that our cleaning contract is up mid-2026. There are cleaning costs obviously associated in this budget, and I would ask Dylan, maybe if you could speak to it's around June, I believe it's up, and the plans for that.
Yep. So there's a number of options that we can have moving forward, given the financial pressures. We're not really bringing forward any positions at this point in time. One of the few of the options are, one, continue what we have, and it's I guess it's mediocre. Often we find that we have, when we tender it, you've got some low bids and then you've got some really, really, really high bids. And with my experience here so far in the last 11, 12 years is it doesn't really seem to matter what you pay, is you get the same. So we may look to kind of go to a month to month with our current contractor as it's, satisfactory, I guess I would say, with a few reminders here and there, and then maybe look at exploring other options and for 2027's budget year, if we wanted to potentially bring a couple folks in-house, take over some of the other buildings we have that we don't do cleaning on that are currently done by volunteers and others at the other buildings to bring that up. But hopeful that, those last half of the year costs will be in line with what they have been.
Okay.
And the only other thing you will see in this budget, we did lower the insurance requirement just because that's been apportioned to other departments. And I really thought it was important for Rachel to provide an update on what communication and marketing and economic development will involve in 2026.
Please do.
Thank you through you, Mayor. To start with marketing and communications for 2026, staff have many exciting projects planned. So to further our website and engagement, staff will be launching Engagement HQ, which is a public consultation platform for residents to stay up to date on our current and past projects. Through the open spaces marketing strategy, sections of the website that speak to tourism and playing, including our parks, beaches, playgrounds, and halls, will be updated to better serve our visitors. Looking forward to funding opportunities that will open in 2026. Staff plan to apply for funding to increase our digital assets such as photography and videography, which will aid in future marketing. There will be a focus on crisis communications next year with a crisis communications plan along with templates for specific emergencies created. A media relations policy and procedure will also be developed. For economic development, staff will continue to follow action items outlined in the strategic plan, as well as collaborate with Peterborough County Economic Development and Tourism on initiatives. This will include continuing to promote the CIP to eligible individuals working alongside the county, Community Futures Peterborough, the Chamber of Commerce, and other organizations to provide their support on site in Trent Lakes. Staff will also be looking into applying for funding to purchase new pole banners to place across the municipality that will aid in promoting living, planning, and working across Trent Lakes.
Okay, thank you very much, Rachel. Does anyone have any comments or questions for Rachel? I like the public consultation idea. It's nice to hear feedback from people. Appreciate that part of that. Okay, thank you. We can move on now to item 4.6 of the agenda, I think. We're okay, we've got all our motions. You're ready? Okay, so item 4.6.1 is Steve Frank, our Director of Emergency Service. Would you like to speak to this item, please?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. You and council. I have a couple of vehicles that are over in 2025, but as discussed earlier, there's a few surprises this year, and as well as we're under the new legislation for annual safety inspections. So there's been some increased costs due to all of those regulations that we don't have control over. So instead of going through it line by line, if there's anything that anyone has any questions on, I would speak to. If not, I can speak to some of the highlights.
Okay, does anyone on the council have any comments or questions? Councilor Cadigan, go ahead.
Through your mayor, who's doing the inspections?
Right now, through you, Mayor, we have Northern Mobile is who does it in Pembroke Falls. They're very, they've been very good to deal with. They actually have a very low rate of charge compared to other facilities, and they're really close, comparatively speaking, for Trent Lakes. Instead of taking trucks, and you can have a truck there in the morning and you pick it up by 5 o'clock in the day, unless there's parts to be ordered or something. So as of right now, that's in all our small fleet vehicles go to, right now they're going for the transmission for oil changes and brakes service, that type of thing.
Okay.
Or the transmission, is that in Peterborough?
It's just over in Ennismore.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions, Councilor Cadigan, when you're on a roll?
No, thank you.
Deputy Mayor Armstrong.
Yeah, thanks for that. Just a question, Steve, on the labor and wages going from 456 budgeted, 386 to date, but it's going to 491 next year. That's a pretty big jump.
Yeah, so through you, Mayor, part of that is that 4.5 that we've been all speaking to.
Right.
Which is average, it's around 35,000 and change right off the top, ultimately. So that's part of that. The Homers and CPP has gone up over $14,000. Insurance for fire has risen to $47,970. Thank you to Donna for sharing these costs equally now. So ultimately, for an increase of 162,000 in our budget, 97,565 is really out of our control ultimately. So we do run a fairly lean budget to begin with. Our protection costs are up 121,000, but last year to date we were 491 calls, and today we're 501 calls. So we just don't seem to be going backwards on that one. The TKL agreement, we always budget the 10. There will be still more bills to come until the end of the year, so that could be adjustable. But right now we're at the 4150 mark. So we have a couple more months of billing to come in on that one. Fire halls is going up, but just because maintenance costs are going up, buildings are aging. And our training of occurrences is up, but as we know, we're putting that final push through for that 2026, 28 certification deadline. So much of the heavy lifting has been done on that, but we're putting quite a few members through the pump ops and DZ driver training and such. So like a pump ops course it's $1,000 just to register for that course. So yes, that is the most recognizable portions of this, along with in the training of occurrences. I have a budget request paper also today that is part of that for $35,000. So there's.
Thank you, and through you. Just to clarify as well, as far as labor and wages go, the 5 staff or full-time staff all are on a grid with a 5-step grid. So it's more than just the 4.5. They could also be moving up a step on the grid. So thank you. Just thought I'd clarify.
Yep.
Mr. Braber, go ahead.
Take it to you, Mayor. Just a question to our fire chief. How do you deal with when City of Kawartha Lakes had that fire in the late summer there? How do you deal with, is it a memorandum of understanding, or is it a reciprocity contract, or how does that, and do you recoup, or do we recoup any of the monies, or is it a wash?
Through you, Mayor. Councilor Braber, we have there's 2 steps to that. We have a mutual aid agreement with Kawartha Lakes as well as Peterborough County and Ontario. So if it's under the mutual aid, like if we're requested to go and provide staff or a certain specified piece of equipment or whatever under the mutual aid, there is no cost. That is just free gratis. And they work the same way. If they can help us, they do. But we also have a few areas within our municipality with Kawartha Lakes that are automatic aid agreements, Kinmount, Riverside Drive, such, which we pay for that service. And what the intent of that is, they have a fire hall that is closer to that area, even though it's not within our boundaries, so they can provide a faster level of service or response to the ratepayer. And then we come after secondary response, so to speak. So yeah, so the summer with Kawartha Lakes, the pumper and the side-by-side unit with a few staff members, that was just more of a support role. And it was a free gratis, so to speak.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Seeing none, you can move on to item 4.6.2 if you would like. Yes, your budget request.
So through you, Mayor, to council, before you have a budget request for the consultant to move forward with modernizing our emergency management plan. We know it's been a topic the last couple of years, and we're looking at hiring a consultant to move forward with that, to get it aligned with all the new practices and best practices. So the intent is to have an outside agency come in and give it an outside look and bring our plan up to date. So the intent of that is to, we are working status quo. We haven't had any issues, but ultimately we know there's lots of changes in staffing and all those. It's a lot of time and staffing that would go into doing this in-house. So we're just looking at trying to get it off the plate, and because we know there's work to do on the one we have. We've had lots of discussions on that. It's just it's a large undertaking for our staff to do, but ultimately, if that's what council decides, just ask for patience.
Yeah, I know, and I think in our couple of emergencies we've had recently, we found things that we should be doing differently, and it's great that you guys pointed that out, to people and your staff, and I think it's important. Go ahead, Councilor Raybrook.
Thank you through you, Mayor. Yeah, I support this. I mean, it's, as you said in your paper here, it's been 15 years since the last comprehensive update, and, you know, it's mandated as well, and it's better to have a subject matter expert to navigate the update, so to speak. So I support this.
Any other comments or questions? Deputy Mayor Armstrong, go
Just the
ahead.
same question. Service review reserve fund gone.
Yes.
So just reinforcement to our mayor to bring that up with MVPC,
Absolutely.
because we got about $100,000 and
Another
we
no.
could have used that reserve fund if we still have the monies.
Through you, Mayor.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
And to add to that, it was mentioned earlier in it, regarding funding, but there's all of these mandates and levels of everything that we have to abide by, but we're not the ones that are making it up. That's being let down by the upper tiers, and we're the ones stuck with having these discussions at the table. And ultimately, it's not something that we want to, but when it's mandated, you don't have a choice. And for us in the fire service, that's a large part of our budget ultimately, and time.
Okay, Councilor Gadigan, go ahead.
Through your mayor, so for clarification, this is coming from the fire marshal's office mandating
Yes.
this report. And is this based on local hazards where you do the inventory of what you have? Okay.
So through you, Mayor, there's been modernization coming down from the government for a year and a half or better now, that we've been waiting for. And Councilor Armstrong, Deputy Mayor Armstrong, and I've had multiple conversations, been waiting because the government changed, so then that got put on the back burner, and then on and on and on. But yes, it's mandated by them, and it's our duty to follow. So it's our infrastructure, our risks, our hazards, the guesstimation of what could happen.
Mandated without funding.
Many things are being mandated without funding. Yeah, thank you. Any other comments? Go ahead, Councilor Raybrook. Go ahead.
Just a question to the mayor as well. And I agree with you. It just seems since my term on council, it just seems like starting with the 2-year mandatory training that's equivalent for all firefighters in Ontario. That was downloaded onto yourself and our municipality and other municipalities. But I'm just wondering, is there any, I know it's a provincial thing, but is there any opportunity, Mayor, Deputy Mayor Armstrong, to claw back any of the county taxes that we pay to the county? I know we have.
It's a huge amount.
Yeah. Well, it's just, and I just, that, you know, when we've sat before the minister's office to, explain our tales of woe and that sort of thing, and our hands out, I mean, it shouldn't have to be us begging for it. There should be some sort of mechanism in place if they're mandating municipalities to be, up to date on training, and they're changing that. They have to realize that there's a cost for it. It's similar to the OPP that we just experienced. I mean, and this is more of a soapbox, but so I'll wrap it up saying that there's got to be some, and I guess that's our advocacy for your department and other departments with our minister reps at these conferences.
Yeah, I'm not sure what our share to the county is this year, but it's probably close to $19 million again, something like that. It's a huge amount of money. It's you know, we try very hard to get some money back. We get projects, the odd project in our municipality for infrastructure rebuilds. We've got 2 or 3 bridges in the last 3 or 4 years. We've got reconstruction of some of the roads in our municipality. County Road 507's first 8 kilometers will be in 2027, total rebuild. So was trying to maybe, so we do get some of our funds back, and they look after what happens with our transfer station stuff. So we get some stuff, but, and it also funds housing and things. So go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. I would just say jurisdictionally, no. Our fire department is not under the jurisdiction of the county. So their monies go to other very specific things. And yeah, can we manage those costs down? Yes, but yeah. So no, that's not, that's a no-go.
Yeah.
But a nice idea.
Yeah.
If we could.
We try. Go ahead, Councilor Cassidy.
So
Your-
potentially, through the county, they fund EMS. If we put an EMS bay in, we would be looking at some funding from the county. That's a question, sorry.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. We've been down this road multiple times. It's not that easy because then the Ministry of Health gets involved and then they end up owning the building and having more than you do. And we've had discussions with the CAO at the county level and EMS. And at this time specifically for Buckhorn, that was the plan. But it doesn't fit into their plan now with buying property in Wakefield and their, what's the word I'm looking for, Donna, their master plan of such, I can't remember.
Facility.
Right, so they have an overall plan, and it doesn't fit in. So they are still welcome to use space in our building. And then if they ever do use space in our building, we would get some funding out of that. But over 20 years, it'd be $1 million, so to speak. You know what I mean? And then, but what we have allowed at Buckhorn facility is room for growth on the property if there is ever future discussions for something as such too.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other, go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
I was going to put forward the motion to support this request and include it in the 2026 budget.
Do I have a seconder for that motion? Councilor Braver for a seconder. Any further conversation? Seeing no hands, I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Okay, thank you very much, Chief Rockbank. Now we can move on to item 4.7 of our agenda, and 4.7.1 is Evan Grieger, our Director of Public Works. Would you like to speak to this item, please?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor Lamstead. Through you, Mayor, the members of council, today before you is the Public Works operating budget. Just to go over the summary page, which is in front of you, shows an increase between 25 and 26 of $128,397.63, or 2.64%, and an overall tax levy increase of 0.46%, 0.46%, or $52,782.53. As you can see, one of the big things when you're looking at the summary page is the vehicles. The cost to repair vehicles, as Steve has mentioned, has gone up significantly. And the other thing we're finding with a lot of the vehicles, especially with the new emissions requirements, that we don't have the specific tools to do that, and it doesn't really make financial sense to purchase these tools to do 1 or 2 small fixes where you can send it to the supplier to complete that work. So just to hit some highlights of the operating budget. So within it, a little thing is the OSIM. That's the Bridge and Studies report. If you guys remember from the summer, we had the delegation regarding the additional culvert on Hill Drive. So that OSIM report will include a review of that area to determine whether an additional culvert would assist in the overall water flow in that area. There's another thing just to highlight is the revenue for the tower. So if you look at page 1, they're showing no revenue for the tower. It's been a very delayed project for some reason. Originally, it was a Rogers tower. Rogers sold it to, it's called Redwood Infrastructure, which I think is some sort of conglomerate that owns multiple towers. So now they've actually tendered the tower in the summer and are actually starting construction. They are arriving today, actually. So within the agreement that we signed, we can now start collecting rental fees starting December, or the 1st of the following month. So that means December 1st, we will get a certain amount of revenue. And then moving forward for next year, we'll have the full revenue on that tower. So that's encouraging to see because it's one of those projects, not only for, important for our residents to be able to gain additional cell coverage, but just for us to be able to create some sort of revenue. It's a good revenue stream to look up. And then another one just to highlight too is just the reduction in fuel. One of that was, I think everybody's noticed cost of fuel has come down. I didn't want to drop it too much because you never know, things could change and they can go back up again. However, we did notice some sort of cost savings, especially understanding last winter was a very heavy winter and the amount of diesel that was used is fairly low. So we were able to, find a little bit of savings within diesel fuel, which is maybe not super substantial, but every little bit counts. And that's what I was sort of looking at. So yeah, that's sort of basically the highlights. As Donna mentioned, the labor, one of the big things is a 4.5% increase. Yeah, so I'll speak to the roads and then I'll pass it over to Matt if you guys have any questions regarding waste. Okay. Any questions for the roads?
Okay, thank you very much. Evan, anyone have any comments or questions for Evan? Deputy Mayor Armstrong, go ahead.
Thanks, Ron. Evan, just curiosity, under the revenue topic, I don't know what aggregate rebate is. I don't know what road expenses recovered is, but we sort of got lucky this year. There was a lot of money that came in from there that we haven't budgeted for next year. Can you explain what that is?
Yep, absolutely. Through your Mayor Lamb, said to you, Deputy Mayor. So the aggregate is because there's quarries within the municipality, you get a certain amount of funds back.
That's the
depending on
highway,
how much
yeah?
they extract it, yes. So it's sort of, if BSG has a really good year of crushing gravel and stuff, then we're going to get additional funds back, and that's how that works. The road expenses recovered, that's for Lakehurst Road. So for the plowing of Lakehurst Road, so last winter was a heavy winter, so yes, it was quite high. Another one just to touch on is the waste expense recovered. Matt may be able to touch on this, but that's actually the new scrap metal agreement that we have that's basically increased what we're getting back threefold. So it's been really encouraging. It's gone really well. It's actually an easier process for us now because the company that does that scrap metal collection actually brings the truck with the crane on it. So prior to, we would actually have to load bins. Now we call them, they show up, they pick it up, and it makes us not only a lot less stress on operating of the guys, but it actually, we're getting more money back too. So it's sort of like, I don't like saying it because it's never really true, but it's a win-win.
So just to follow up, so why have we budgeted so much less for 2026 than what we actually were able to recover in 2025? Oh, Donna has an answer, as of course you would.
So just to confirm, you're talking about the road expenses recovered?
That and the
Yes.
aggregate rebate.
So the road
Even
expenses
Blue Box.
recovered, part of that in there as well is a one-time WSIB rebate that all departments were able to, I portioned it to all departments, so it's a one-off.
Gotcha.
As far as the amount for aggregate, I mean, we did go 160, we upped it a bit. It's just one of those things we don't know for sure until, the money actually comes. So it's just, we're not sure. So we bumped it up a bit, but we would hate to put it too high and then it's less, so.
You just never know with aggregate.
Yeah, if I can just add to that, okay, Marilyn said.
Go ahead.
I know it's a balancing act, but at the same time, we're taxing our residents for that difference. So, we want to be as close to a good estimate as we can, because otherwise it's borne on the backs of the taxpayers. So that's the only reason I'm questioning it. We do have and I know you're conservative, and I know that if we have a surplus, we can put it to reserve. So all of those things are good, but up front, I just want to make sure that we, done our best in estimating what the expected revenues are in those lines. Because it could mean we don't tax our residents $20,000.
Okay.
Sorry, that's my soapbox. Okay, we're good.
Well, thank you very much. That's a good perspective. That's what we're here for. Okay. Anyone, Matt, did you want to speak anything about waste, or if anyone has any questions?
Sorry, go ahead. If anyone has any questions, absolutely. I was just gonna add on to that, the waste expenses recovered is actually the rebate from the return from the county that they give us each year. So they give us a bit for brush removal, and the mattress events and the paper shredding events, so they cover some of that cost. And then the scrap metal is a different line item farther down. That actually will increase likely for final budget, but I'm not 100% on the numbers for that one. So.
It's good. It's good we're recovering a little more because I know previously we didn't get a lot out of that. I think we paid for some of it, so it's a different process and I like it. Okay, any other comments or questions for Evan or Matt? Seeing nothing. Okay, we can move on now to item 4.8 of our agenda, which is recreation and facilities. At 4.8.1 is Dylan Gosh, our Director of Recreation and Facilities. Would you like to speak to this item, please?
Sure, thank you, Mayor and Council. Little overview here. So some of the things to keep in mind with my budget is both grants and the library levy are contained within there. So it's something that we don't have a lot of control over. So the library levy is kind of a modest 4.5% as we've just estimated. I don't believe we've received those numbers yet. Typically receive them in the next couple months, I would think. And then council obviously does their January grant awards. Everything else we've tried to keep fairly lean and not change too much. Obviously, there's still some outstanding bills, particularly some of the parks and washrooms and stuff that won't be posted on here. So if you see a little bit of extra room there, that's why, as well as there's the odd GL that reflects some of like those washroom strategy changes that we made as well last year. And additionally, the library maintenance, you'll notice that it's, we did bump it up this year as that includes the installation of a Generalink there. So in the event of an outage, we'd be able to bring the generator we purchased during the ice storm there, and it would run pretty well all of the building there. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer.
Okay, thank you, Dylan. Does anyone have any comments or questions for Dylan? Oh. My goodness, what happened? Thank you.
Got them all in the first time.
That's right. Yeah, the first several passes. Okay, thank you very much, Dylan. Okay, we can move on now to 4.9 of our agenda, and 4.9.1 is Donna Taggart, our CAO Treasurer. Would you like to speak to that item, please?
Yes, thank you, and through you. So before you is just a summary of the revenue, and of course, these amounts are already included in all the departmental budgets, but I'd like to provide you a summary of all of the revenue together. So I can certainly answer any questions on that if you wish. And as well, a list of the reserves as at November 6th, which of course there's lots of entries to do. But yeah, both of these are for your information, but certainly able to answer questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Does anyone have any comments or questions for Donna? Wrong page, isn't it? Go ahead, Councilor Braber.
Thank you to you, Mayor. Just a quick question, Donna. Down at the very bottom of the trial balance summary. I'm not an accountant. You are. You're the finance. So assets, fund balance, and then liabilities at 16 million, 16,678 million. What's why is that listed under liabilities? Or is that what we have on reserve? Or?
Right, so reserves are considered liabilities.
Okay.
Because they're money that we eventually will spend. So particularly development charge reserves, we collect them and we're expected to spend them. So they are recorded as liabilities. The reason that that's showing as a different balance is because we do have some reserves that are in, you know, a plus, they shouldn't be. That's particularly the ones we've used some development charges for the build in Buckhorn. And also the Buckhorn Lake Estates water system is in deficit. So,
Thank you.
Okay.
But they are considered liabilities.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Armstrong.
Thanks, Mayor Lamson. I think an important metric, and Don and I have gone back and forth on this, and it's too early to see what it is, but I think we also, next round of this, I think we need to understand how much money we're putting back into reserves at the end of this year, surpluses, et cetera, and how much we're taking out. Certainly at the county, and Marilyn said you'll be very familiar with this, we continue to be lowering our reserves year over year over year, and in fact, using it to fund our operations, which is a horrible thing to do and got us into big trouble. So, and we're not doing that. I'm not suggesting we are, but I do think it would be important for us to keep our eye on at the end of the year when we have a better handle on what's going back into reserves. How much are we putting in? Bottom line, how much are we taking out? And so what have we done to our reserve balance going forward? And I know it's premature to speak about it, but I do think that's a metric we need to take a look at when we have the
Great. Yeah,
data.
I would agree. Thank you for you. And that is also part of the audit discussions and financial statements every year. They show amounts to and from reserves in that document too.
True.
But yes, most certainly I can come forward with better data on that when I know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then just to follow, the reason for that is because we're now discussing with the outs. What are we going to take out of reserve? And it's only one side of the equation. So we're sort of operating a little bit blind here and a little bit on faith. So that's why I just wanted to raise it, because we're making some decisions today.
That's true. We're using some reserves as well, so it's good to keep track of it. Okay, any other questions? Seeing none. I don't even think I need a motion for that, do I? Thank you, Donna, very much. Okay, we can move on to item 5 of our agenda, which is adoption of a confirming bylaw. Item 5.1 is the confirming bylaw. What I have.
Sorry,
Yeah,
can
go
I
ahead.
just make one comment before? we
Absolutely.
get to that? By my tally, and Donna, our treasurer, will have a better handle, but by my count, we've approved $160,000 more in budget expense for next year, which will add to our 4.2% that we had. That will add 1 point something. So we're probably now in the high fives, maybe into 6% increase. And we haven't dealt with the pumper yet. So I just want everybody to be aware of where we are, what we've done, decisions we've made, and what needs to be considered going forward.
Very true. Councillor Gagnon, go ahead.
Did we also not find 120,000?
20,000.
20.
I think it's only 20 of that was actually,
Oh,
yeah, darn it.
there goes your tractor.
Yeah. Again. Okay, thank you for that comment, Deputy Mayor Armstrong. Okay, we can move on to our confirming bylaws. Anyone prepared to make that motion? Councillor Cadigan for a mover, Councillor Franzen for a seconder. I will call for the vote. All in favor of adopting the confirming bylaw? That motion has carried. We can move on to item 6 of our agenda, which is adjournment. Would anyone like to make a motion to adjourn? Oh, yes, absolutely. Thank you. Mover. Councillor Franzen for a mover, Councillor Cadigan for a seconder. I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. We are adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone. That's a very stressful, long meeting. I do appreciate all the effort that's put into that. It seems like a bunch of numbers on the page, but we know how much effort goes into getting it. Thank you all very much. And thank you, council.